Why they choke that banana down real quick. Pardon me. Welcome back, everybody, to Deadlock Fight Night. Episode 14. You know I can throw them back, baby. For Europe, presented by our friends over at Intel. We're on the cusp of another finals match, a best of 3 to decide the recipients of $1,000 cold hard cash. Parivision and Virtus.Pro are no strangers to going up against each other in some of these big matches. Jason, in fact, they did it just 3 days ago, I think, in the one-win Bombshell Invitational tournament. You guys know I love you. I don't know the full name of your tournament. They did win 3-0. Virtus.Pro did. So won the first 2 maps and then the last one.
Well, 3-1.
3-1.
3-1. That's what I got you back.
That's what I said.
You said 3-0, but that's fine.
Did I?
Because what does matter is that Virtus.Pro banned away Wraith every single time in those matches. They banned Great Talon twice, Vindicta once, and Kelvin once. Whereas the response from Parivision was, we'll take away Sinclair from you 3 times, and we'll take away Infernus from you 3 times. We'll throw random Pocket and Bebop in there on top of it. So I think if we're going to look back on like previous results and previous drafts, I feel like we can easily apply it coming into this because, again, Virtus.Pro, they tried to get Geist every single time, and it was only taken away from them once when first pick was taken away.
Okay. Yeah, that is. And that was the Geist the first pick for VP in those games?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow. When they could.
Okay, so both these teams obviously really like to try and play the Geist, right? We just saw Parivision have a really good game. Press obviously show us just how nasty they are. So fair enough. Let's move on towards this game here. Let's bring Jake back in. We can chat a little bit about VP and Parivision again. Like, these are teams that are kind of throwing down with increasing regularity right now, and both are really contesting like a lot of these key picks, like the Lady Geist, of course. What we mentioned, Parivision like to play. VP have been trying to first pick it from them.
I think Geist is going to be prio. I think Wraith is going to be prio. Paradox. I mean, there's a lot of contested heroes. We got to think from that last game that Holiday has to be something both teams are thinking about. We've seen both of them use it in the past. Super curious to see what ends up kind of coming out on top. It feels like maybe for the first time in the EU, there's a real shakeup for these super top, first pick prio. In the past, it was kind of like always Paradox, Yamato, but that's really been broken open. I do think Paradox probably still there, was just banned first last game, but there's a lot to consider in these drafts, especially going into game 1. I don't know that anybody has the perfect read on like what's the highest prio ban, what can you let through. So I think both teams are going to get a bit of what they want here.
I'm actually thinking no one's going to ban Paradox, because if you ban Paradox, you're kind of forced to first pick in Holiday. And if you're Parivision or VP, you want to first pick Geist. You don't want to first pick one of those two necessarily. So I actually think this is cool little like mind games between these two teams of like, what do we ban? And I feel like Paradox is probably one of the highest banned heroes we have at the moment in EU, but I think it's going to be completely let through with Holiday. And it's going to come to a battle of what do we want to take away from you? It's going to be interesting because, not to mention, Virtus.Pro, like you said, Mitch, they played 7 every single game in that series that went 4 maps. And I think they also even played Dynamo in one of the games, unless that's an error, but I'm going to say it's right.
Honestly, also, Parivision, we know that SAF will try and pick Grey Talon every game that it is available as well. So like, there's a couple of things that both these teams really want to try and pick up. Let's refresh your memory, though, and talk rosters here on these two teams before we get set up for this match. There's a bit of context to set around this, I'm sure. Here is your Virtus.Pro roster: Zergi, Sharik, Michaelis, Dimov, Listic, Oberkim. Right now, the undisputed best team in EU, although there are always challenges and no one comes closer than this Parivision roster. So this is kind of the quintessential matchup in this region right now. That's why we're obviously excited to be treated to it on an always weekly basis here at the Deadlock Fight Night. But obviously we got to chat with Zergi last week. Asked him a couple of questions as well. And we also brought up the topic of North American teams not wanting to buy Healbane. That's why Shiv was so good over there. But in general, really good insight from him, and this Virtus.Pro team seems like they're only continuing to get better, guys.
Yeah, Listic better not dodge the interview this time if they win. Actually, for me, the funny thing is about this team, Michaelis is probably always like the standout player because he's the most popular player, because he was one of the first people to really show like how good Paradox can be, and he always has really high streamer numbers. But I have to give it to my boy Listic, honestly, as like the standout player of this roster, because he has played 10 different heroes over the course of these 14 weeks when they were playing, and he's had some pretty good success. I'd say he was probably one of the players, if not the most picked on about having such a small hero pool, that you can tell he has put in the effort to learn a lot of other heroes. And I think he's been one of the key points to success of the team because of him realizing that and working on it.
Is he not the #1 player in EU presently? Or at least was in Deadlock, like in terms of rank. I think it was.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that might have been the case recently. Someone in chat, I'm sure, can confirm or deny that. Let's move on and talk about their opponents, though, as we just saw them in the previous game. It's Parivision, Play With Me, Saf, Presses, Taz, Litz, and Together. These guys have got what it takes. I think so much of our questioning always is always orbiting around the idea of what Play With Me is on, but I think we saw them on the Warden and they looked really solid there. It wasn't a game that felt like it really rose or fell on what they were able to do, but quietly Play With Me was keeping up, with Prestis in terms of just how much raw farm they had. They have like multiple Grey Talon operatives, right? Saf and Prestis both can do it. We know when they get a Paradox or even a Holiday, like Taz is going to be hugely impactful there. And let's maybe, while they have a slightly different support hero pool to some of these other top teams in Europe, obviously we see a lot of Ivy from them very much. We just saw Sinclair. They're very, very solid, great understanding. And they're a big part of why Taz and Litz were able to snowball that lane that they won into overall dominance of the game, Jake. This team, while we see a couple of, concerns about, hero pool or ability to pilot certain comps there, I mean, it's hard not to have them as a clear second in this region.
I mean, I think this is a team that has really carved out an identity for themselves as the sword to Virtus.Pro Shield, where I think VP make a lot of comeback games. They play the map really cleanly. They have a great macro understanding of like getting ahead and then making it to the late game. Parivision likes to play fast. They like to play aggressive. They like to get an early lead and keep pushing that tempo. And, although that does present some risks, if you make big mistakes and you throw that lead away, it's going to really hurt against a team like VP. By the same token, it's just as easy to kind of just keep building that snowball. And as Parivision get better and better at the strategy, I think as we see, it might be bearing out some more success for them. If they can be consistently winning lanes and consistently pushing an early lead, there's a good argument for them just, playing the map a little bit more efficiently than their opponents, getting more resources, getting more of those buffs and earns done, and just accruing bigger and bigger advantages. I do think VP has been very defensive, although that has played to their advantage in the past. They've won a lot of games despite being on the back foot.
Yeah,
I like how he said Parivision are the sword to or to Virtus.Pro Shield, because I think this exactly describes how they kind of play. Parivision, whether they were Pojalayo, Scumbria, or DMS, were one of the first teams to punish buff enjoyers back then. Early on in the game, would be very aggressive against them to look for that victory. Whereas, buff enjoyers then, they just kind of sat back and played the macro game. By the way, for people who are wondering in chat, that's just their signature heroes. When we looked at the rosters, that's actually not what's been picked for the team. So yeah, you see 2 Paradoxes. We're not going to have 2 Paradoxes. That's not how it works, but just kind of give you a little bit of history about what these players are kind of known for in their heroes.
One day we'll have their photos, you know what I mean? But
first ban Pocket.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I know Pocket's a strong hero, and I do think it's grown a lot in priority over the last month or so, but wow, I don't see the first ban on this character very often, or really any ban at all. I think it usually just goes like later into the draft. So maybe Parivision really thinking this is a key element of VP strategy.
That was Savannah's fault.
Well, they did play it twice in that best of 5. Virtus.Pro played it twice, and in the first game, Parivision did ban Pocket, so it's kind of following suit similarly with that. But yeah, I would agree with like Jake. Like I would never put Pocket necessarily as like a first ban unless they intentionally are letting things through to specifically snipe some stuff up. So to me, this is a Geist pick for Parivision, and then you let Virtus.Pro either have Paradox or they have Holiday.
I actually love the Sinclair ban. I think the Sinclair ban makes total sense because I don't think it's really a hero that VP want to use. But by banning Sinclair first, you leave all these strong heroes that are very dominant in the pool. And yes, Wraith goes towards Parivision. We've seen Wraith be a critical hero in many, many matches. But now VP has the full range of these like top quality heroes to pick from. I feel like could easily see something like Paradox Geist going here and just really putting VP in a great spot, getting them some of their most preferred heroes and denying some key ones from Parivision. Although at the same time, I don't think Parivision are going to be too mad about losing Paradox if they can respond with a Holiday.
Okay, so now, all of these powerful picks are just released into the wild. So much so that now that like Paradox and Holiday aren't even really being prioritized as first picks, Virtus.Pro once again locked that Lady Geist in first. And we have something for Play With Me, no doubt about it. The Wraith already secured here for Parivision.
I'm trying to see if it's just going to be, because I can't remember if it's just going to be Play With Me on Wraith or if like someone else would actually pick up Wraith. But I believe he's the only one.
I mean, it fits his play so well. I think this is, you talked about it in that graphic, right? 4-0, great stats. I love the Wraith for Play With Me.
Okay, Mirage here.
Okay, so Together's played it once. So I just wanted to check because those stats were from his history in DFN, not just from Parivision. So dating back to like his previous team as well with DMS. But so Mirage actually picked up for Virtus.Pro, which it's not surprising considering we have Mirage played by Parivision quite consistently, and again, that's a hero that Play With Me plays quite well. But when you have the Wraith, you know he's probably not going to be on the Mirage.
Also, with so many pick heroes left in the pool, you can afford to deprioritize them. Yeah, Paradox goes the way of Parivision. I wonder if they're going to go with the Holiday as well. Feels like a bit of an overinvestment into pickoff, although maybe that's all right. At the same time, VP are just saying, hey, what you can have whichever pick initiator you want. We'll just take the other. We'll just take the second option, and we'll prioritize Mirage for his unique global presence that no one else in the entire pool really replicates.
Yeah, and it's something that tends to go under the radar. I think like that impact until like a fight is over, and then you can see the damage of a Mirage player at the end of the game. It's quite subtle what they're able to do. Kelvin going to be locked in here for Parivision. Of course, this is obviously a pretty heavily banned. I mean, you can see 79% of the time in the first round, or rather in general, it's getting looked at to be either taken out of the game or brought in via a pick. So pretty solid look here for Parivision, and that means that Virtus.Pro can say this Holiday pick until later in theory, unless Parivision see fit to save it for a second round bear, but that would seem like maybe a little bit unnecessary here now that you have the Paradox.
I think you might need to grab it. I think Parivision probably should ban it if you don't grab it, because Parivision no longer need the pick off hero. They don't want you to have it. I think it would be a great ban. So I like Virtus.Pro grabbing it before the bans come out. And we'll see what VP want to take out of the pool. I mean, Parivision kind of have a pretty decent start here, right? Like one support, one pick off, one late game carry. I feel like the ban is really open-ended for both squads. Like there's no one super obvious. Yeah, I wouldn't mind the Calico. I like that concept with how good Listic has been on it. Maybe that's what Parivision want to take off the field.
Or Grey Talon as well. Or Vindicta, okay. So does Parivision want to give away a Grey Talon to Listic? Because Listic currently doesn't have a hero picked at the moment, at least a typical hero he would play. But then again, we have Calico available at the same time.
Yeah, interesting. We've still got so much heat in the drafts here. These two teams. This is such a curious the way this draft has panned out. Obviously, like that Virtus.Pro 7 pick is still lurking. Like, are they going to try and bring that back in? It seems to have served them seriously well. Like, obviously, Mo and Krill is an option later on in the draft here. Less high priority.
You have to wonder what's Zergy going to play, because at the moment he would normally be on a Wraith, but that's been taken away. And Furnace is also another pick that he likes to play. But 7 would be kind of cool to see if he's adapted the style and the build he goes with to make it come online more early. That's something we discussed like earlier at the start of the show, is that you can't really play 7 the way he was playing before anymore, because the games are kind of over too quickly for you to hit that big power spike at 40k plus souls to then start to show up and be in these fights.
I do like the 3 into 4 build on 7. Like farm with your third skill, that chain lightning, do a ton of creep camps. And then the ultimate is low-key kind of crazy in some of these late game team fights, right? When you get the full stack ultimate with like a bunch of infused items on it, the ability to move with that max point in the ult, for me, that's actually pretty monstrous. If the enemy team is committed to a position and can't really back out, everything dies under the 7 ult. I mean, you do kind of need Metal Skin, you need Unstoppable, you need Spirit Damage. I mean, it does have that normal 7 problem of being soul reliant, but it's strong when you get there.
The lightning strike is kind of fun as well now, like that it sort of creates that sort of knockback, which can be sort of useful in some fights, but it's just a fun little adjustment. And now obviously for those that may haven't played in a while, Stormcloud expands way more quickly than it used to. It used to be like really dodgeable and just slowly billowed out. Now it like happens rather fast. You've got to be ready for that for sure. Warden here going to get picked up for Parivision. So again, that's
so we still going to be on Wraith, in my opinion. I would say. Actually, I don't even know. I think that's kind of one of the cool things about the depth, at least the overlap that they have, is that we've seen Together play Wraith before. We've seen Play With Me play Warden before, but with the Calico thrown in, I don't know who's even going to be on what at this point, because Play With Me and Together both play Calico. But that's kind of, I guess, the luxury. And on the other side for Virtus.Pro, the luxury of picking 7 is you don't really give away who's going to be playing the 7 necessarily. It could be Zergy, it could be Listic. You could pick up an Infernus right now and change things up based off what Parivision picked.
Okay, this is not too shocking. We've seen Virtus.Pro go for that Mo and Krill a fair bit recently. What do you...
Good response to something like Calico, right? Who wants to dance in and out of the fight. You can just like full focus her. You can stop Kelvin from ulting. I mean, there's a lot of these skills that Parivision really need to get off. And so Repair, have a pretty sick individual pick-off potential, as well as the team fight that 7 offers, if it is indeed an ulti build 7, which I think is likely, honestly. I think that is like the meta build for 7 now is maxing the ulti. And it looks like it will be a Zergy Infernus. So VP, I mean, the AoE damage on this comp in late game is unbelievable, right? Like with Seven, Infernus, Geist, that's pretty insane. Like for like this late game, you get like, that's something I've seen VP do a lot, where they get to this phase in the game where they are just deathballing you as 6 players, and any kind of small room you fight in, you are just cooking to all these different AoEs and all these different status effects layered on top of you. Where I think Parivision are a little bit more pick-off centric as they close with the Shiv, I would say the king of this full commit pick-off style. That's been, Shiv's been really deprioritized in EU, but we've seen big games out of it in NA.
I'm scanning my notes here to see if we've actually seen this pick from Parivision recently.
No,
I want to say
we haven't.
We haven't. Okay.
No one in the EU has played it for a few weeks now, right?
What do you think? What do you see? Like when your 5 picks in now and you see what Virtus.Pro have gone for, what makes you go, yeah, the Shiv here would really round this out beautifully? What is the tip off to you? This is kind of like the capstone for this team.
I think it's more their own draft rather than counter picking. I think this is just like a decent finisher for, a second frontline carry to follow Calico and Warden in, or I guess a third, kind of in that vein, maybe, and a little bit more of a likely building spirit damage. I think this game on Shiv, considering the gun focus from Warden and Wraith.
And also, I think you also have the reset potential with Shiv, but also the fact that you have like 2 other frontliners with you that are going to be focused at the same time. So I feel like you kind of don't have to worry about being focused too heavily. And also you're forcing Mo and Krill to be like, who am I really going to ult now? Do we want to try to kill Shiv off immediately? Do we want to try to kill Calico or maybe someone else? I think it kind of like splits the decision making for Virtus.Pro, makes it that much more difficult to decide on like who can we hard engage on and know we're going to get the kill and escape from.
I do think Shiv is like almost impossible to hard initiate on due to his passive. But I'm more worried about Shiv in the context of like Seven, Infernus, and Geist just like poking you down with dots, like Seven ulting when you're full committed on Shiv, or Infernus burning you, Geist, dropping grenades on you or swapping you when you come in to finish kills. But I'm, as much as I've been saying, I think Shiv is better than EU is giving it credit for. I'm a little worried about it in this particular game. If VP rather get to that late game that they like to, where they're stacking tons of AoEs and status effects on their opponents.
Yeah, so how do you get into these fights adequately? Do more than just throw like a couple of knives like from the periphery. At some point, you do want to get in there and actually get up close, make use of that sort of bullet lifesteal, and really sort of be a real kill threat in those fights. I mean, you could say the same with Calico, right? There's a big risk of like diving in. This team seems extremely like, I am going to climb inside your backside. Like we are going to set up shop on your back patio and throw down. Like, there's not really a strong poke element to this team whatsoever. So maybe VP are looking to punish that with a composition that will blanket the area and all of these status effects and alk fires and all the rest. I don't know. It's going to be tough here to see if Parivision can make this work. But of course, Jason, we're projecting towards like this 6-on-6 team fight, but so much of the game needs to be decided in this early lane phase.
Yeah, definitely. We might not even get to the point where it's like 6v6 team fights. We didn't have one in the last match with Parivision versus 1-1, really. We kind of had a little bit of a skirmish, then teams backed away after about 3 kills total. But I'm hoping production, can we run it back to the Zerg interview and saying, NA just doesn't buy Healbane, and just get that just prepared in case they get decimated by a Shiv, even with Healbane.
And they do, by the way. And then I think it was Calc got kind of rolled. I mean, it wasn't a game where he was able to take the game over, but a lot of people had. That game also was like a ton of bullet and spirit lifesteal from like 6 out of the 12 characters in there. So yeah, it was the thing.
I just want to get it ready in case they lose against the Shiv. just to rub it in his face.
I mean, there's no way. Let's see how this plays out. Solo lane Calico here versus the Lady Guy. So Saf will be on the Calico. And then
Prestis on the Wraith.
Okay.
Together on the Shiv, so play with him in the Warden. We kind of expected that, considering, which I still don't get why Play With Me doesn't play more of these kind of carry roles, but we're also seeing Wraith in a dual lane, which is very uncommon, but you're just seeing the raw damage he's able to do up against Obikim. Immediately force him back, might hit the last card, but he loses sight of him, and Obikim will escape.
That was close. A little too close for Obikim's liking. They aren't feeling like they can afford to go all the way back to base, though, to heal, so they'll hang around. Maybe an early healing right pickup might be the play for that holiday. Here on screen here with Taz. So no one really looking to leave these lanes quite yet. You'll notice that it's Sharik who's probably lowest out of everybody. That's that lane 3 push. And you've got Warden, you've got Wraith. So no surprise after Obikim was also forced out that the other laner is going to be under some pressure, and Obikim returns just to die. Prestis with first blood.
You know what's kind of interesting too, looking at Virtus.Pro and looking at like the differences. So you have TaS, who plays Holiday and Paradox, very interchangeable with like how aggressive you want to be with them. Then you have Virtus.Pro, where Michaelis doesn't really play Holiday. I mean, he does play Holiday, but he's not the Holiday player for the team at the moment. It's Obikim who's more support, and Litz is more the support player on Parivision side. So I don't know if Obikim's going to have that same kind of style that TaS had in the last game, like being aggressive, looking for these picks and catches. So do you see it looks like Play With Me potentially going to go down here. Should be going down. Someone hit him.
Escaping that one. Just slowly encroaching on him. A small demo by Virtus.Pro to turn that around, considering that Prestus was laying it on pretty thick in that lane. That was the evidence by Obikim being forced a long way out of the action. But yeah, curious to see how they managed to succeed on this Holiday pick.
I think it's just going to be a completely different style than what we just had, which is it's kind of cool. Like obviously, you know, heroes can be played quite differently, especially looking at Geist, where in, I believe, NA, we see them level their Essence Bomb, their 1 first. In E, we see more of the 2 as a level. But I think Geist in the Calico is not terrible because you do have some really good sustain. You pick up Restorative Shot or Extra Regen, which currently Extra Regen's picked up from Michaelis. And you don't fully match the sustain of the Calico, but you kind of keep up.
Again, like you can obviously shrug off some of these persistent effects with the Calico once that ultimate is online, but I can't do much about Soul Exchange, which will occur in an instant. I mean, it's very scary to try and fight Lady Geist, just anybody, especially such a powerful solo laner over towards that level 60. It's pretty dangerous. A lot of push here being put down by Parivision. I think they've identified that this is maybe a lane where they want to try and take some edges. So those constant frost grenades are coming down, not being used so much for healing as they are for pushing the waves up.
Decent combo potential too, because if you swap someone in and Lich just pops the Frozen Shelter, like most often than not, Litz is going to be able to get that kill, and will Play With Me. He's going to fall for a second time. Sher going to lock this one down. And Play With Me, I said this before at the top of the show, right? Like when he doesn't have good games, Parivision just don't have good results. And he's got to kind of stabilize here. He's down to 2.1, currently the lowest net worth in the game.
Yeah, obviously that's not the Warden you really want to get going. Let's bring Jake in here briefly. Just want to check in because we see Virtus.Pro able to find some of these pretty successful dives towards a lane in lane 3 that was pushing them very aggressively prior.
Yeah, it's a big opening, right? Getting Shariq's combo online, I think, really could turn into some quick rotations. VP, you know, as much as we talked about them being a little bit more of a passive defensive team, we've also seen if they can get that early secured lead, they will keep pushing the tempo, they will keep fighting, and ultimates are just about to come online, so I could easily see Mirage rotating into a Mo Krill gank. Parivision got to be careful straying away from the Guardians right now.
Eyes on Dimov, of course, who wants to be present should there be a proper engagement like that. And looks like Listic wants to come forward here. Ultimate's here, obviously online for almost all of Virtus.Pro. Obikim having used that lasso earlier. Maybe that might be why we're seeing some low health bars. There is the paradoxical swap that came on in, but it looks like they were ready for it. Play With Me gets taken down. It was a beautiful lineup of that tornado.
A Storm Cloud on top of that. It's like, you locked me in Frozen Shelter, but with my Storm Cloud, and you guys don't have the damage to finish me off, especially when I have my teammate D-Mob locked in with me. So he immediately cancels the Frozen Shelter. They back away. A really good counter out of Virtus.Pro to read into that swap Frozen Shelter combo to Parivision and completely nullify it.
Parivision are looking to get aggressive here on this lane 3 side of the map, though. Play With Me, a little low. Oh, buddy, dangerous stuff. I mean, at no point did Prestus seem like they wanted to join them past that veil, and I can see why, but Play With Me, one of the lesser fed members of Parivision, once again, served up as another tasty morsel. Prestus has to respect this, so Obikim also takes a card, goes down to about 500 odd. Now it's like a slower roll onto this lane 3 Guardian.
And Play With Me is struggling here. They're down 3k 6 minutes in without any objectives being taken on. Michaelis is getting confident. There's going to be Into the Shadows being used. And Michaelis just going to back away. I mean, he still has a soul exchange up, and Saf dies to the 1. The SS bomb comes through and catches him out. Virtus.Pro are running away with this game already. It's not over, obviously, just yet, but they have such a strong lead.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen like Parivision be able to take like the lead back midway through the game. Their macro still does look pretty good, but the lane's here looking pretty bad. Listic here, awkward spot for him to be, tries to parry off the Guardian, but Saf is going to be able to bring them down. TaS was also there. It's just a ton of damage and a little too much for Listic to handle. So again, pretty standard stuff heading into this 5-minute mark as these ultimates come online. Both of our teams are looking to take a lot of these fights.
You see this, Mitch? That's 2 decays out of Virtus.Pro. They're really trying to eliminate the longevity of these fights out of a Calico, out of a Shiv, and out of a Warden, as they're just trying to punish them here, trying to chase them down. It might be able to pull off the kill here too. The last knife comes through, and I don't believe he's going to fall. Nah, he's more than healthy enough.
That decay stacks up so well against a lot of those lifesteal items as well that we see, get bought up at sort of tier 2, tier 3. So they're going to be relevant, especially against someone like the Shiv for quite a while. Listic here trying to force him on back. Infuser popped, expecting a bit more of a full engagement there, but Parivision didn't fancy it. Awkward. Overkim tries to drop on in here. Here's Sharik though with the emergence now. They do have a combo ready, but no one there to play off of it, and they're still going to try and go for it here. Buy a bit of time, get some good damage down, maybe a melee to follow it up now as Prestus needs to try and get out of there, maintain a range advantage, and Sharik cannot overcome it. Divine Shield pops. Prestus down to 90 odd, and just a couple more bullets gets the job done. That is knife edge fighting.
Just buying time for that score to come back online for Shark as they do get the 2-for-1 exchange there. I feel bad, man. I kind of wish we had models that would be more beaten up the more times you've died, because Play With Me right now, his mustache would be half torn, his hat would be missing. He's died 4 times in a span of 8 minutes, obviously trying to get aggressive and look to get some of this back, but
that's fine. But I mean, on those Haze games, Play With Me would just look like a red smear running around on the ground.
It's true.
So at some point, you can't even recognize what hero they're playing. There's got to be a limit to that, I feel. Interesting fight for Overkim to take, looking for a crack shot, headshot, surely. Lasso connecting. Where are we headed? We're headed downtown, my guy.
Puts a jump pad just to hit the stun and extra damage off of that too to finish him off. So Overkim, I mean, catch the lasso perfectly. They're starting to get aggressive, looking for their second objective, the second guardian of the game here, but it's still extremely healthy, though we do see Shirk rotating into lane 4. It looks like they do want to confirm this one. He has combo available, and together he's got to be very careful because that means there's a decay coming his way.
Okay, here's telekinesis now. Overkim trying to leap up. Good damage. Stun on together. Massive damage onto the Shiv. Overkim blows up the Shiv on their own. Damn, that Misty Burst really makes a difference. Picking that up early in the game just turns you into an absolute monster.
Plus the cold front, like that burst damage he pulled off was ridiculous. Now Play With Me. There's no combo, so he should be able to survive for now. It does have some backup coming out of Prestus, but Prestus is very low in HP. In the meantime, Virtus.Pro are pushing on the lane 1 at the same time here. And while that's happening, Tassel secures a Guardian over in lane 2. So at least keep things equal at 1, as it looks like it's an all converge here onto lane 1.
Yeah, I mean, Prestus drop though. Overkim's trying to back away. Of course, Shiv is here once more together very quickly, looking to get back in the fight. And looks like for Virtus.Pro, they've done enough here over at lane 4. Lane 1, like you mentioned, though, might be the one that sees a bit more action, and already that pressure coming in down onto the Guardian. Some of those key items being built up. Resto Locket has overperformed for me in my eyes for so many of these games. It's a very powerful burst heal that turns the tide of a lot of those fights. There's a frozen shelter pop, but Michaelis and VP still want to try and come forward now. Can't blame them. Sharik definitely hunting. Saf very, very low now, likely to be stunned in a moment. And, well, Saf got headed off at the pass anyway. And still more fighting to be had, though, as Taz gets behind the time wall. Swap is there. Listic, though, shrugs off the damage and isn't bothered about the silence for the most part. Taz trying to fight this out, but walks headlong into a combo. And Sharik has won so many of these fights from the slimmest of margins.
I don't know how he's still surviving in these fights. Like, this is the second time we've seen him survive with like sub 100 HP. I believe Listic body blocked the swap there actually at a task to allow Sharik to go for the escape. And we're seeing the push come in onto lane 1 still. Saf goes back in, but he still has to worry about Listic, who still has a lot of damage behind this with his 7k souls. They're trying to put pressure onto this Walker. It's already below half HP here. You got to get away from this. There's no way you're going to take this.
Stormcloud pop there, presumably for the spirit resist that it offers, but that is an unsuccessful Walker take here for Virtus.Pro. Who, in fairness, like it's a 3-2 Guardian game, so that metric is pretty close. Now we're going to start to see some pressure onto the lane 1 Guardian. I think Virtus.Pro will have to scrabble to defend this, and they are trying to move Overkim into position. Lasso connects. Barrel, pretty good. Saf definitely taken low, but there's more where that came from as Taz steps up, and it's only 600 on health for Overkim. They have to give up the Guardian.
Did I just see some like high-level tech? Maybe Jake can like confirm this, but did Overkim lasso and buffer a heavy melee at the same time? So when the lasso landed and he got pulled in, he hits him with the heavy melee?
Yeah, and I think with the Spirit Strike, right, it's like reducing their Spirit Resist, so like making your whole combo more effective. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right? Like all the Spirit nuke you have on the kit for Holiday being combo with the melee. It's well done.
I mean, it definitely didn't look like it tickled. That's probably what we've seen the last couple of times, actually, from these gank attempts from Overkim. It's pretty convoluted, actually, what you need to do on Holiday here, but the reward you get in terms of the raw damage that you put down, even without these like strictly damage items above tier 1 or tier 2 is pretty impressive. So see if they can continue to be relevant throughout the course of the game. But right now, when everyone's sitting on tier 1, tier 2s, it's really good. Here's Dimov on your screen. I'll see Resto Locket is something I referenced earlier. But again, these gun items already starting to be picked up alongside the combat barriers. So pretty nuggety, going to be pretty hard to blow up. And Dimov is always going to be like a consistent threat in these fights.
Considering how this game's kind of played out, I'm surprised to look up and see both teams at 59,000 souls. It's felt very heavily Virtus.Pro sided. Obviously, as we have equalized things at 3 Guardians apiece being taken. But credit to Parivision to stop the rot. I mean, Play With Me dying 4 times in the first 8 minutes. It looks like they've been able to stabilize in other lanes. I mean, Safi's at 11k, together at 10k. They still have that insanely strong front line and threat. But with catches like this, I don't know if you're going to be able to survive. Oh my, so the lasso wasn't enough. Sharik's like, okay, I'm just going to combo him too.
Yep. Well, I mean, they were held, I think, inside the Listic grenade, so that also didn't help. But yeah, pretty easy pick off. Let's back to the drawing board for them. Okay, Paradox school swap attempt here. Taz will be stunned up on this high ground, and that's going to be too far away for VP to do anything about. Carbine loaded up, ready to go. Connecting onto the Listic, but again, it's not the kind of damage you would write home about. And the decay comes in. Stun also follows it up, and they're chasing. They're going for the Paradox. Taz could not put enough distance between themselves and the rest of Virtus.Pro before they got demolished.
While this is happening, D-Mouse trying to push onto lane 1. I believe he got a walker earlier on as he's trying to look for the 1v1 up against Calico, but he does ult away over into base. And this pressure, I mean, we're going to see the Frozen Shelter lock in Obikim, and they're going to be able to get 1 kill, but they're still going to lose their final Guardian in the game. They did lose the lane 1 walker during all this. So in the end, Virtus.Pro is still going to come out ahead with the 5k lead, and you're seeing Parivision's response is try to run for an urn. I
mean, there's just no legitimate urn take here. Look at how far up in favor of Virtus.Pro that lane 4 is pushing, and is definitely going to get away from them pretty quickly. Warp zone here for Michaelis, finally coming into the build.
They're late. Sorry, just to jump in, they're late to rotate in. They're letting this urn go for free. There's nothing they can do.
16-9 kills, right? And you were sort of surprised about how close the souls were. I'd say earlier on it would have been like a 3 or 4 kill lead. So despite all the fighting, not that significant. There's at least been like trades back and forth, like maybe 2-for-1s a lot of the time for Parivision, but that's been enough to keep them, again, with some map presence and keep them in the game, economically speaking. But look at this. Look, I mean, you could slice the map diagonally here. Like VP are now in a very good position to take liberties. Here we go. Lasso time, whatever. You're probably dead. Don't worry about it. Damn, they really went for the combo too. Sharik is not. He's not messing up.
We talked about like the Mo and Krill Vindicta combo, but we're seeing like a holiday Mo and Krill combo right now. It's just kind of disgusting. Listic's gonna fall from this. So great turnaround by Parivision to pick up 2 kills after losing together off of this. And I don't believe they had to commit. They had committed the telekinesis, the last stand. They might be able to pick up another as Zergi's going with the combustion, but he's just gonna have to back away. The buff's gonna be picked up. I believe that was for Litz, and this should be a 3rd kill. Parivision, did they just go mid boss because of this?
Yeah, I mean, we were due for a regularly scheduled like mid-game throw from VP there. They do get Prestis back at least on the offside, and also like listing Sharik have really low death timers, so they can zipline boost straight back into the game and be there. But those are just fights taken with VP actually have local numbers disadvantages. They just don't sort of realize it. They have like all this map control, but they don't have information. They don't have tabs on where Parivision are, so they take these fights and end up just taking a 2v1 that ends up in a 4v2.
Yeah, I think Virtus.Pro they hope to kill someone with their quick combo before anyone on Parivision side has a chance to like respawn. So if Parivision, you kind of need to play a little bit closer together. So if someone does get caught by the lasso and the combo, you're at least there. If you don't save your teammate's life, you're at least there to return it in a 1-to-1 trade, or ideally a 2-to-1. But with the 15-minute mark being passed, Virtus.Pro now with Sharik trying to run the urn towards the left-hand side. They're leaving Listic on the right-hand side lane 4 to look for the walker, but he still has 2 players of Parivision there to deal with. So technically right now, Virtus.Pro had the advantage if they want to go for the turn-in, but it's a really scary point because you could pretty much just give this over to Parivision and then they get a big lead against you.
Yeah, it's far from a free turn-in, that's for sure. Sharik here.
Well, that was completely free. No one's there. They all
just got out. Okay. Damn. That's rough. I mean, and Parivision like allowed this to occur. I mean, they know where the urn is. They know it's very close to the turn-in objective as well, but they opt to just back up and tidy on that lane 1. So, we might never know what the decision-maker was there. They just simply did not want to fight at the time. So, in we go. Play with me. What's the plan here, son? Well, you're now caught by the biting wood. Slowing Hex does come out. Trying to escape, maybe to buy some time. Divine Barrier popped here for some of the extra shielding. They've gotten away. That is absurd. Well, Jason, you know, if you can't use that lasso to initiate a fight, sometimes you can use yourself as some juicy bait dangling on a line and then just run away and let your team try and follow up.
So you like lasso yourself and then try to run away? Yeah, I get what you mean there. I mean, yeah, with the mobility that he had, also he used his Fleetfoot heavy melee cancel animation. I don't know if you guys checked out Reddit today, but there's been some interesting stuff with the way Abrams uses it. Gives you a lot of momentum, which you saw him try to use to get around the map quickly, and of course to use with the help of the stomp. So I kind of respect that Obikim's like really trying to maximize everything with his melees, whether it be try to get the extra spirit strike, spirit resist steal when you go for the lasso, or if it's for the extra momentum.
Well, Demon was very dead, caught with the swap and the telekinesis afterwards. And I don't think Obikim really could do much about that. They were forced to look on and maybe do some poke damage. So that's a free pick for Parivision there on that lane 1 side. But they really have eyes for this Walker in lane number 3. That's where Virtus.Pro are trying to converge now to defend this adequately. Saf looking to go deep here. Wasn't able to dive in though, and now we're just going to be poking for a time. Storm Cloud is at the ready here for Virtus.Pro. They've obviously got the ultimates that matter. Obikim just went for a lasso play. It's unclear to see how that eventuated, but obviously not in a kill.
They do at least to force Parivision back. And I'm trying to take a look at like how they're allocating their souls, because when they defend against pushes like this, they have to be very understanding of, okay, so who's going to pick up the farm in these other lanes. And at the moment it's been mostly Zergy and Dmob. You can see both at 17k apiece, and Zergy in particular, he ran over to lane 3 to defend here. But it seems like we're just going to have a little bit of a lull in the action until a team forces something, whether it's going to be at the bridge buffs or it's going to be over towards the mid boss. And you can already see Michaelis and Dmob there trying to gain some vision over towards the middle.
Yeah,
just trying to be those human wards we've talked about.
Jake, feels like both these teams are pretty well positioned for a competitive tussle over mid-boss if it comes to it.
He's not the Jake. All right. I could do a Jake impression since I'm from California as well.
Yo, you're looking for Jake? I can't do a Jake impression, but, he'll be here at some point. What I will say here...
Diet Coke Jake.
Yeah, Diet Coke drinking Jake, if nothing else. But hey, here's what I'll say here if you want a little bit of insight. I think Parivision, even though a little bit behind, has an incredible chance to run away at this game. I love the scaling Parivision has more, especially when we consider the interactions between like Shiv and Calico to the Virtus.Pro front line as you get a little bit later, and the fact that they still have a Paradox to make plays and just initiate, I think, at a slightly higher level than even what Obikim is going to be able to do in the holidays. So for me, I think if you're a Virtus.Pro fan, you are worried about them dropping the first map. That's all I got.
Thank you very much for that, ZP. Obviously, who we will be seeing a little bit later on in the NA part of the show. Again, like we might, see the interplay here between the two initiators in Holiday and Paradox. I kind of like the part where we were whispering, but I don't suppose we can really go back to that organically now. It's kind of faster. That's actually... Are we doing an ASMR cast? Should we do the mid-boss fight in ASMR? That'd be quite good, actually. I can't get any more erect.
So speaking of Virtus.Pro pushing and really trying to harden things up here, you see lane 2 is where they're kind of currently congregating at, as the urn's gonna be picked up by Tass. And this has to be a fight. Like at 20-minute urn, you don't let this go for free. You have to contest this one. And I like how they already set it up with Dmob heading into lane 1. Though there's no objective to take there, he can at least keep applying pressure and force someone on Parivision to respond to him and keep him honest.
They see VP getting really aggro up that lane 2 side. We're looking to test that Walker. Also, if they win the fight out, they can sort of extract that urn, potentially walk away with it. I don't know what Sharik is looking to pick up here, if you'll excuse the pun. Yeah, just going to back away here. So again, this is about to get pretty messy. You'll start to see the drift across from Saf here to lane 2. So all eyes really on this next engagement. It won't be a mid-boss, I think, without a full fight taken, and that's where Virtus.Pro looking to take their edges. Both sides have their initiation tools online. Lasso and, of course, that paradoxical swap are at the ready. So one of the most important fights in the game, definitely the most important so far, right around the corner.
Oh, there's going to be a catch here for sure. I don't think there's any way to escape this. Michaelis immediately gets in the face here. Presses gets him down to half HP just from a swap alone. But he's going to stay alive. How do you combo him? How do you combo from that far? Does Mo have arms as long as you?
I guess there wasn't enough room for him up on the platform. Presses is down, though. Owen did get turned in the meantime, and that's a Walker going down. So VP definitely winning out on this trade for sure. Some pressure now in Obikim's direction, that lane number 3, but I think Parivision need to get ready to defend that Walker, because that is definitely where VP are looking next.
I mean, a decent trade. Like, you give away the urn, you get a flex slot. I would take that any day of the week. Your play with me is going to fall for his 15th time this game. And I'm just kidding. I don't know how many times it is, but it's a lot of times. And this might be go time for mid boss now for Virtus.Pro because they have the man advantage. They have Zergy pushing him to lane 4. They're trying to go for a catch on Calico during all this. It's a very skirmishy fight across the map here in different situations, but Virtus.Pro not able to get anything off of that delay that Zergy was able to do.
I mean, good walker damage, I'd say. They're going to have to fight for this after, though, and they kind of know it. They realize the Parivision's breathing down their neck. So out they try and get slowing Hex, though, connecting on towards Overkim as they're trying to run away. Warpstone also used for the escape. If VP lose out here, it could mean mid-boss. They've got to be careful. But it's Parivision coming with all the momentum. Stormcloud gets popped here, but it really just doesn't make a difference. VP lose 4, and the mid-boss now will be attempted.
There's no way we're going to see a steal. Play is not in here. There's no way we're going to see an owl into the single-man army assuming the rejuve. Mikhail gets a kill onto Tass, and it immediately stops him from going for it.
That might be enough to buy you some serious time. You have no paradoxical swap left. This is about to get awkward now. I don't know if anyone here for VP is close enough to this to stop it. In we go. Oh my goodness. What a stun. But Pressus is still able to take the rejuve. Zergy, I had high hopes for that one. It looked like there was a stun from some direction. Or maybe everybody just parried at the same time. Unclear. Either way, mid-boss down. Back at 30 minutes.
I hope that wasn't all chat for Sharik's sake. But I'm pretty sure it wasn't. Just team chat. Yeah, I mean, that was a good attempt. And the thing is, they didn't overcommit either. It's just like throwing away one player to try to steal a rejuve. Yeah, I think that's fine. That's more than fine. You saw Demov come in after. He just tornadoed away. And they escaped with just the one death. It's about the pressure now that's going to come their way. As we can see the replay of the Stretch Armstrong combo that came through. I mean, Pressus should have been dead there by all rights, for sure.
All right. Well, we got Frenzy picked up here for the Shiv. 4 to shoot as well. Crucial for Saf. If you're going to make them pretty relevant in those fights. So, yeah, a lot of people headed to the mall here. Warpstone up now for Listic, who's, yeah, again, tried to go for some of these, like, ultimates. And I don't know. The 7 just isn't quite there yet. Here's another swap, putting Zergy out of position. Lasso, though. Well, yeah. What goes around comes around, doesn't it, Taz? Rescue being out of there. God, we have whiplash, folks. Back and forth. Parivision trying to take the engagement there. And I think the rescue beam is really what does Virtus.Pro in. Sharik there trying to dig deep into this fight. Nice AoE damage, like coming out. Looks like a concussive combustion from Sharik would have been... Zergy, excuse me, was quite effective. But he's able to slink out of the fight and stay alive. So this defense so far has been good. And now we might see a bit of attack off the back of it. Listic able to find Tassim. Overkim is on the chase right now. Litz, who's a very, very experienced Kelvin player, does want to avoid much of this, but still there's fight to be had. Mystic down, the Guardian eventually does fall. Play with me gets that. Parivision arguably win that fight out, but it is a little close.
Oh,
3 for 3.
Whoa! Holy crap!
Wow. Okay, dude.
Give me a replay of that. Give me a not now. Give me a replay of that. That was ridiculous. He jumped up. He jumped off the wall. He wall jumped and then Warpstone on top of him onto Pressus to kill him. Yep. What the hell?
That is so sick. Wow, we are, like we said, we are really... Overkim is someone who really seems to be min-maxing every element of Holiday's kit to get value. That was nice. That was clean.
I mean, he's the thing is, he also hit like a 5-man stun when that fight was initially happening outside that walker. He jump padded in and landed on like 5 of them. They weren't able to really do anything off of that. Let's look at it like this. Okay. The chase, first of all, is ridiculous because he uses like his melees and wall jumps to get on top of the ice path. Like, look at this. Oh. And then gets the kill. Like, that is ridiculous movement. But yeah, the follow-up...
Okay, so... He jump pads. He maintains that air. Warpstone into the wall. Wow. Oh my God. That is crazy.
Ridiculous.
Without landing, he really went around the world. That's crazy. All right, here's the swap. Oh, defensively, by the looks of things, though. A little bit messy here, but Sharik, Zergy both very, very low. Frozen Shelter. Thrown down there for Parivision. Topped up as you like. And Virtus.Pro now going to lose this first walker. Parivision only have 1 left, though. That's why this soul tally is so close in general. Okay, we did see the soul exchange there used, but it doesn't really seem to have bothered Parivision, as eventually Michaelis 2 will fall.
Well, that's going to be Parivision taking their second walker of the game, getting a flex slot unlocked. They have a 10k soul, and as ZP was saying before, the late game scaling at a Parivision is going to be a thing to have to be afraid of and to have to deal with. And we're seeing Obikim try to make the individual plays himself as Parivision are just farming these walkers, getting their third now, maybe even looking for the last one. The lane is extremely pushed against them, but off that Rejuvenator, they got so much for themselves, Mitch.
Yep. And it was quite scrappy, right? I think immediately after taking mid boss, there's a 3-for-3 fight. So Parivision have been able to fight for this, or have had to fight for this the whole time. But I'm going to say Together is getting pretty fed. Saf also with a lot of souls on them. The whole front line of Parivision actually is in a really good place. It's not going to be up to Prestis to be the difference maker. I mean, we've got a lot of the improved armors now coming up. Improved spirit armor here, of course, put together. Debuff reducer. So making sure that those, healing reduction effects can't quite take hold in the same way. Dimov here, really trying to get active on the defense now, but you're starting to lose those shrines. It is getting pretty scary for VP. But 20k souls is a manageable deficit at this stage of the game. You have to think. Frozen Shelter, though, has trapped Sharik with the entirety of Parivision. Big stun, though, comes out. Player 3 goes pretty low. Prestis has also seen better days as Dimov wants to push forward. Shot after shot coming in. Player 3 does eventually fall, but the Monkrill is down. Dimov aware that the Shiv was back behind, and Together is going to be pretty hard to catch as the decay comes in. Litz fires that one off, and now a tornado gets Dimov safely back into base.
Oh my god, again, the Warp Stone stun. He comes back in. Obikim is looking for Stun City here. That's going to be the swap coming in. The combustion as well. Together, I don't know how you're still alive. He's eventually going to fall on. Virtus.Pro turn this around. Unluckily for them, no mid-boss just yet. But for them to turn that fight around, considering Parivision used that Frozen Shelter to heal up the team, was pretty damn ridiculous. Now they're on the hot to push here as they're looking for their own shrines. They're trying to turn this fight around here, and they have some time to play with. They should be able to take the Patron, and that almost leads them perfectly into the mid-boss spawn.
And obviously this is, to the tune of some important souls as well. You're going to be able to step back and, go buy up a little bit now of your Virtus.Pro and make up some of those deficits, right? Zergy, not too far behind the curve here at 27k souls. The KLS also pretty close to being a relevant threat. So now it's about VP getting out of here unscathed. There will be a chase for Parivision if we see zipline boost. I was going to say, I did think they might try and come out fast, but of course, their zipline only extends so far.
Look at Prestis. Lane 2. He boosted into lane. I'm not sure why he's this far pushed up. I thought he was maybe trying to do something a little bit tricky here, but with mid-boss spawn in 40 seconds, for both these teams, it's about, can we get some lane control? Can we try to get them to push in one direction? With the Patron already transformed for both sides, all you really need is like one good wave push to potentially just win the game.
Is VP's Patron weakened?
I believe so. I believe
it is. I think it might have just been recovering, so we don't see it. Yeah, we'll probably see Parivisions also disappear after a while. Mid-boss very soon. Obikim will be back up.
Actually,
in that time frame. Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe we can.
I think they defended it. They lost at least one shrine, but I don't think they lost the second.
Maybe we can check it out with like some free cam, but it's going to come down to this earn push as well. The thing is, if you're like Dimov, I would push lane 4 right now. Look for that last walker. Keep the pressure going. Look for another flex stop because of that. But you also have to worry about like backdoor. If the earn turning was on the other side of the map, Virtus.Pro have a really good chance of just straight zerging that Patron down.
Both buffs though picked up for Parivision on 2 of their most fed characters as well, in Together and Saf. I think it was a gun and survival buff respectively. If we see this 7 be...
Oh, yeah. Sorry, you are right. The Patron is still up for Virtus.Pro. You can see it moving. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, the defense was really nice. Again, Virtus.Pro, Jason, have 4 stuns, including the knock-up. Not including the knock-up, rather, from the tornado. So we saw that fight. Like, when they're chasing or, even at this stage of the game, like, you might be down 10, 20k souls, but if you can land stuns on some of these targets and just focus them in the moment, then it just doesn't matter how much you have.
He's going for a catch on someone. Will it be Dimov?
Those swap missed. Yep. Well, it's back in 15 seconds, so it doesn't really matter. Dimov low. Able to walk away. The rest of VP trying to ferry him on out of there. There's a chase, though. They might have overextended. Together, caught now amidst them. Frozen Shelter going to be used. Combustion doesn't ultimately go off. There's a Storm Cloud in play right now as well. Parivision don't seem to be paying that too much heed. Durgan needs to be careful. That was a big overextension, wasn't it? Blown to smithereens by Saf as they tried to chase things down, and there's a bag to be had here. Sharik, though, will scoop that back up, and now back on defensive footing. Virtus.Pro still with 5 to work with, and Saf, though, is able to sneak that earn away.
They're committed to the fight still, though. Virtus.Pro, they've not backed off completely. You can see Dimov was extremely overextended. He's forced to just travel back onto his own base, and they might get the catch on Obikim here. And if Obikim goes down, if they can somehow lock him down, so say that could have been the game, but mid-boss, that's going to be the focus here to Parivision. And Virtus.Pro, you almost have to contest this. I feel like you almost cannot let this go for free, because if Parivision have rejuvenated with the team they have, they should be able to win this match off of that.
32 minutes in. Still a close game, as we've come to expect from these two.
Obikim's going to steal. I can feel it. He's going to get a big stun and steal it, man. It would just feed perfectly into the story of what he's been able to do in this match. And a pause at the worst time for Parivision and the best time for Virtus.Pro, because they get to figure some things out here. Do we want to commit to this?
All right, how's your Russian, Jason?
Yeah.
All right, okay. Let's go.
Everybody gets to talk
skills.
it over. Who's pressing what buttons? Who's going for the melee? Who's parrying?
And okay, well, this is a decent time to sort of take stock of things here, because Virtus.Pro definitely still seem like they're in this game, and they have a lot of crowd control, Jake, that we've seen look pretty effective for them in the last couple of fights. But I feel like Parivision are edging them out still on each occasion, and it's just one more slip is all it takes for Virtus.Pro to sort of lose this one.
Kelvin and Shiv are so hard to fight together here on the mid boss.
Yeah, that's a rejuve cap. No attempt here for Virtus.Pro to intervene, of course, with two players out of the game. And here we go again. Parivision now with that rejuve buff, despite a knocked patron. They should be brimming with confidence, Jason.
It should be, for sure. I mean, again, they have a really strong combo. Saf is insanely fed at 39k. So you saw him go back to deal with Sherik, and with a 13k soul difference, Sherik had to give that one up completely. There's no way he can contest this. There's no way he's going to get that last walker of the game for Virtus.Pro. And it's going to go down to, I hate to say it, but Obikin, man. Another big stun. They could wipe out Parivision. A swap into a lasso. I don't know. It's going to come down to that one individual play to turn how this, or to decide how this game's going to turn out. And I do like Parivision here trying to go for the last walker. Another flex slot opened up, so they can buy up what they need to go for that final blow here to finish off this game. It would be it's only the first game of the series though, Mitch, and we've already had what, 3 matches of action in this one alone.
If they lose this fight, though, they lose the game. And remember, Parivision have a knocked patron right now, so they've got to be careful. All it takes is one zipline boost for Virtus.Pro if they win the fight.
To be fair, they can't get across the map because the lanes are shoved up against them, so they do have that second chance. And we do see the catch initially come in onto South, but again, he's so tanky. 41k into the shadows, and hopefully into the fight again.
Okay, Obikim trying to stay safe here. Lasso already made use of. Looking for a bounce connection. Okay, barrel going to be thrown out. Telekinesis drawn out. Don't flip it. Warp stone to get into base. Fair enough. They have escaped it. Parivision here still trying to push up, but taking their time. Again, get rid of those base guardians. They still got a second shrine they need to work through. The patron obviously still needs to be knocked. A lot of things to consider. And Virtus.Pro here want to try and force the lines of battle away from their base, but like you said, Jason, without having access to the zipline to get across the map, even if they win here, they can't immediately turn that into a upset.
Yeah, I don't think they'd be able to finish for sure. I mean, you're up against super minions on top of this, so Parivision gonna have the quick respawn. You see Saf just trying to rotate around, trying to give him some information where players are, and hopefully look for a catch. And Virtus.Pro to be so careful that the combo's gonna be back online here in just a few seconds for sure. The last stand is down, the telekinesis is down, but the swap isn't.
That's a catch. Yep, frozen shoulder basically guarantees it. Michaelis, no chance of getting out of that. So, VP down to 5. What can they do here? Push up now from Shiv together, getting aggressive now. Those shots are really hurting. Listic goes very low and can't afford to use the Stormcloud out in the open now. So the base boss has already got cleared up. The shrine now, the second one down, and this is where the patron starts to get punished. With Michaelis and Sharik out of the game, Virtus.Pro really don't have any options. None great ones for starting the fight. Obikim looks like they just used another lasso. There's no follow-up to speak of here. So Parivision can wait this out, and then into the pit we go.
Yeah, they should be able to finish this off here. The swap was set on cooldown as well, so they're not going to get the catch into that, unfortunately. Stormcloud's still going to be available for Listic, but I don't think he's going to be able to survive the damage that's going to be coming his way if he goes for it.
All right, Stormcloud is the attempt here. The damage is decent, but mostly ignored by the entirety of Parivision, whereas Listic can't ignore the damage coming back at him. That's the game, folks. Parivision find some great roams. Virtus.Pro, if we can think back, Jason, try to take these fights in the mid game. Right? They think they have these 2 versus 1s. They have these opportunities. They've got, waves pushing in their favor, but they end up getting overwhelmed. They take fights that ultimately actually end up being really unfavorable. They get overwhelmed by sheer weight of numbers, and then the game slowly starts to slip from their grasp.
Just cinema, honestly, this game, for so many different reasons. Like Parivision keeping that game alive after falling behind initially. I mean, if you remember in the very beginning of the game, Play With Me died like 4 times in 8 minutes, and he was still able to bounce back and kind of come up equal when it comes to souls. for them to just stretch the game out, making some really good decisions on like when we take urns, when we take fights, and we don't take fights, dealing with the immense presence that Obi Kim had with his stuns as well to be able to deal with that and still turn fights around. Parivision, man, that was a strong start. And if you're looking back at, what can we draft differently? I don't know what you can really do right now, considering there's so many highly contested picks between these two teams.
I mean, let's bring Jake in here and talk about it, because don't forget, this is the team Virtus.Pro that banned Pocket. Right at the start of the game. They did allow Parivision to get some really powerful stuff, including the Paradox, including the Wraith, right? They got sort of really far ahead, but it felt like that Parivision had a comp that very quickly made it clear that they weren't going to be eclipsed in the late game by VP no matter what.
Yeah, I think Shiv Kelvin also looked pretty fantastic this game. I mean, that's been a combo that has really amped up Shiv's potential in North America, with Kelvin being prioritized in both regions. But I mean, there's a couple fights there where Shiv just tanks the entire world and a combo with just the help of the Kelvin heals, the dome and the raw heals from the frost grenade. I mean, it's just a really powerful combo for maximizing your frontliner. And VP, despite their occasionally catching people with the lasso, with the combo, they weren't always able to finish the kills, especially as we got deeper into the late game. The early game, combos like this looked fantastic. It felt like Virtus.Pro was starting to get the snowball rolling. Then a few fights go against them, and they're suddenly no longer able to finish their food.
I think Prestis ends the game with about 40k player damage, which is pretty good. Obikim, by the way, has the highest player damage in the lobby by like a long shot, and we saw why. Like the tech on the holiday was fantastic, right? Looked really good. And Obikim was able to get off to a pretty decent start, I ought to say, early in the game. Jason, you talked about stylistically them looking pretty different. I suppose that is fair, but it didn't really feel like Virtus.Pro were able to like take these mid-game fights and like snowball off them. In fact, some of them, they just got caught out. Look at this. I mean, there's so much that you can do with Parivision to catch people. Swap into telekinesis, swap into frozen shelter. There's just a whole lot to punish like individuals that get out of position.
The swap into frozen shelter, it's like, okay, you're screwed, because there's no, if you're Michaelis, there's just nothing you can do there. Yeah, you can maybe soul exchange, but that's only going to keep you alive for like 1 or 2 seconds longer, and your team's not there to help you. I don't even know actually if Virtus.Pro had a rescue beam. Now that I think about it, I'd have to go back and check. But there was no way you're going to save Michaelis there, and that's all Parivision had to do, was just wait for that one swap. It doesn't matter if you lose your Paradox, as long as you take down the opponent as well.
Dude, Kelvin is broken, man. I've been seeing this time and time again. Kelvin gets banned a lot, but man, this hero just looks so insane, especially when paired with some of these raw tank frontliners like Shiv or Geist, who want to just get heals pumped into them while they fight. Man, that's potent. 60k healing almost. That's unreal.
God, I mean, you make such a good point, Jason. Like this comp, we talked about it like, yes, well, the Shiv and Calico are going to die to all this AoE damage from the, Zergy and Michaelis. But the same goes as well for like area of effect healing, right? Frozen shelter, but also like having multiple charges of those frost grenades means that Saffron together, even Tass as well, like these are all close range brawlers. This is a death ball style comp here for Parivision, and they were really able to make use of the Kelvin.
Yeah, I mean, staff together, but also play with me. Like they each in their own right have a lot of sustain, a lot of healing you can do in the fight. You pair that with the Kelvin, whether it's the frost grenades or it's the frozen shelter, and you pretty much extend their lifetime in that fight by effectively double, make them a lot more difficult to deal with. If you can't burst them down, as we were saying before, in mid game you can burst people down within the lasso and the combo, but later on when they're getting heals pumped into them, they already have a lot of life steal or spells, spirit steal. You can't really kill them off quickly. And the support out of Litz, I would actually like to see like how many grenades he's thrown in particular in that game, because the average healing per grenade must be kind of ridiculous.
And also, like, you can take as many heal banes as you want, but we saw together with like a debuff reducer, quite happy to pick that up. Like in those fights, it was really hard to mitigate the lifesteal, not only that Saffron together can do, but also just the raw healing there from Litz. So very, very strong stuff here from Parivision. And like, ZP's like chatting with us as the game's going on, and he's like, I think midway through the game, Parivision are behind, and he's like, I think they're still going to win. I think the comp is just way better. And again, with the execution of these Parivision players behind it, they found success. So that's game one done in our best of 3 here. Could go either way, folks. I think we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, our Deadlock Fight Night EU number 14 presented by Intel. We'll see its second map in our money match. Welcome back, folks. We are one game into our best of 3 money match here at the Deadlock Fight Night number 14 for Europe, presented by our friends over at Intel. We love Intel. Thanks, Intel. You guys are great. we've got Virtus.Pro and Parivision on the docket. Game one, look, I mean, we come into this game expected to be close. This is not an upset, right? But we come out of the draft maybe, coming at it from a different direction, I guess, than the game actually goes, because we see like a composition from Virtus.Pro that does have like a lot of AoE, like it looks pretty good in a brawl scenario. And then we look over at the side of Parivision and, see a lot of pick potential, and also like didn't factor just how powerful Kelvin would be when healing those brawlers, those bruisers, those close range heroes. And that's essentially what we ended up seeing, Jason, from Parivision, right? They just 60k healing for a Kelvin in that game. You've got to ban that guy. That is absurd.
Yeah, ban it or take it. I think when you see Pocket being banned by Parivision, you kind of think they're going to be leaning towards a Kelvin, since Pocket is one of the best counters to a Kelvin, and how you deal with it. But I don't know. I feel like there was just so many, I think as ZP was saying, there's just so many pieces of the comp that Parivision drafted that work so well together that it's kind of hard to just ban things away for them, or necessarily take things away from them without them still having some like insanely good potential with how they wanted to make these fights happen.
Yeah, I think 7 also fell a bit flat for VP. As much as 7 had like a decent start, is what you're hoping for to kind of get the snowball rolling. Then there's like a bunch of fights in a row there where 7 is just like dying, popping ult right as he gets picked off. And they're not able to really sustain the engagement the way that 7 wants it to go. And it's a hero who, as much as he did get the early start, his snowball got completely cut to pieces from those mid-game engagements that went against him.
And then we had the Zergy and Furnace that I feel like never really had the chance to get where they needed it to. I mean, I really feel like you need like at least 40k souls on the Infernus sometimes before you really start to see them, pop off in games like this. And it's not a game that really got that far, right? And the amount of durability, I got to say, on the side of Parivision, especially by the end of the game, right? They did amass like a pretty ridiculous soul lead there, but they had such a powerful comp coming out of the pick and ban. Not only did they secure the Kelvin, but they get Wraith, they get Shiv, who in this case was good. They get Paradox, they get Calico, they get such a powerful setup here. And it's, a slower start where VP start to get ahead of themselves, I feel. Start to try and take some of these fights and roam the map while they have map control, end up walking into a few too many traps and losing that momentum just as they're starting to build it.
Curious to see the priority for the pickoff heroes here, with Paradox and Holiday both having huge games last game. I mean, I kind of feel like they were both great. Like, I don't know that one was clearly better than the other, but it's super interesting to see those two heroes in particular being sort of natural counterparts in different drafts.
Well, the thing is, with Virtus.Pro having first pick, I'm kind of assuming they're going to go for a Geist again, but I really want to see them stray away from this. I mean, we did see Michaelis, he had the highest player damage in the game, but if you lose the match, all that player damage doesn't really amount to much. But if Wraith's left open, do we see them first pick the Wraith, or do we see them go for the Paradox if Parivision going to leave that open? I'm assuming Parivision are going to leave at least one, or probably leave both those available, so they at least get one of those, since they're going to have 2 picks for themselves.
We're first banning Mirage here, which, I mean, without knowing what the interplay is between these two teams, seems pretty out there.
So I think both teams just understand that Sinclair is hard broken, because they both first banned the Sinclair when the other team has first pick. So I thought it was just VP banning that because they didn't want to use it, and Parivision used it in the last game. I think they both are like putting a ton of respect on it, that whoever gets first pick is getting the Sinclair ban from the other side.
It's just so hard to play around, because like the Hex is obviously insanely good because it controls like your team, but the ultimate out of him, you just don't know who he's going to clone. And it's so hard, I feel like, to come up with a plan of how to deal with that when he could take 1 out of 6 ultimates and you never know which one he's going to go for. And obviously you kind of know generally which one they'll lean towards.
I mean, I feel like when we saw it earlier tonight, it was always like an initiation ultimate. It was like a combo or a swap or something like that. I mean, God, given what Parivision have been picking here, it could have been like swap, Frozen Shelter, Telekinesis, Last Stand, like a number of them. So this Lady Geist here, obviously we saw Michaelis in the previous game. Could be a dim off pick there as well. Parivision say, yeah, we are absolutely prioritizing getting Wraith in here. I think that's pretty powerful. Obviously, it's a play with me option, but normally when we see play with me get a Warden, this is a Prestus pick.
I think Parivision can still flex it as far as like who exactly is going to take the Wraith, but you're going to use it at some point in the draft. I don't mind VP sticking with the guys. I mean, in the end, yeah, they lost, but the damage stat was pretty bonkers for Michaelis, and he did like 20k healing on top of that. Geist really looking strong in the meta right now. Interesting to see the Warden go this early for Parivision. That surprises me. I really thought we'd see maybe one of the Paradox or Holiday or even something like a Kelvin get prioed super early. But okay, it's the Warden.
Yeah, I guess Parivision don't care which one it is that they actually end up getting. If their belief is that it'll be one, obviously it'll have to come up with the next pick, right? You have to imagine.
Now that I think about it, I actually really like for Parivision's style. I think they love the fact that Warden helps you pressure objectives down super early with that ultimate. You do give up the Paradox VP, so curious to see if that's going to be Mikhail's and maybe like you guys mentioned, swapping the Geist over to somebody like Dimov. But for Parivision, I think maybe for them, this draft is a lot of objective damage right now. Like both of these heroes are two of the strongest objective takers in the game. And when it comes to Parivision's game plan, last game, they were a little bit on the back foot, had to come back and fight. But typically they like to rush down objectives super early. And this is kind of a double down on that with the first two picks of the draft.
Yeah, they are the proactive team, at least amongst these two. They are the aggressors. Okay, so we actually are going to get a pocket game here. He avoids to the ban phase, and now Jason, like you mentioned, it might dissuade Parivision from investing too heavily in trying to secure Kelvin early in this draft.
Yeah, I don't necessarily expect to see a Kelvin. I almost expect to see an Ivy come through for Parivision for Litz because he's just insanely good when it comes to Ivy. But I'm trying to quickly look at who's likely to be on the pocket, because Michaelis plays pocket, D-Mob plays pocket.
Run from the law for so long.
I mean, Sherrick's going to be not on pocket most likely. But again, going back to like the first draft, I do like the overlap in pools. I mean, if you have Paradox, it's probably going to be Michaelis on Paradox, which means is Listic going to be on Geist and D-Mob's going to be on pocket? Like they have such a huge overlap that's really hard to predict where things are going to go. But with the Holiday being picked up again for Parivision, I mean, we saw what TAS could do on it just in our first match of the series up against 1win, and I wouldn't be surprised to see the exact same thing happen.
It was really sick. I mean, Kelvin banned out here. I guess, yeah, it's like a legitimate fear, right? That if Virtus.Pro don't have to play against it, they obviously can pick it up because an allied Kelvin is not bothered by having pocket there. So it's almost a must ban for Parivision if they don't want to deal with the Kelvin coming the other way. And we know VP are more than happy to sort of go in that direction. Obikim is a very established Kelvin player.
We also saw the threat of the swap into Frozen Shelter combo for that like late game ultra secured kill. It feels like there's almost nothing in the game that can protect you from that other than just not getting swapped. But of course, that's not reliable. Responsive Great Talent ban comes in. I think Parivision would have loved to have the Great Talent. I mean, they've got initiation, they've got objective damage and frontlining. And so committing to like a super heavy spirit nuker could make a ton of sense right here in the draft. So I like that VP takes at least the biggest threat in Great Talent off the table.
Yeah.
Especially against pocket, because he's got negative spirit resist too to start off with, so it makes him even easier to be picked off before we get inside the suitcase. I am wondering though, will we maybe see a Bebop come out? I don't necessarily know why we would see a Bebop, but it has been banned between these two teams before. But seeing Viscous for the first time in our third game of the day in EU is kind of interesting.
Bebop was first banned for Virtus.Pro. They were second pick, I think, in the last game, so I suppose that makes sense. But now they just seem happy enough to let it through entirely. So it might be Bebop and something else that they're so concerned about. But it's not as if Parivision are lacking on the ability to start fights. No, that pick potential is absolutely there, and there's enough of it in this game that you can access it. And Vindicta comes in now. This definitely factored in the series between these two teams, right? When you see a Viscous come down, you think, hang on, let's maybe play a different game. Let's play off this ground-born axis and still have impact.
And I think one of the key differences between Holiday and Paradox in terms of their initiation potential is how effective they are initiating on flyers. I think Holiday is much better at initiating low ground targets. You get those huge AoE stuns when people are stacked on the ground. But catching a Vindicta, pretty sketchy. You don't have any setup. You just have to hit the lasso naked. We get the Mokro combo setting up Vindicta. I mean, you do have Viscous for the hard save from that particular combo, but he can't be everywhere at once. Yeah. And I mean, we've seen what these Vindictas can do with a nice snowball. This is a very classic draft from VP right now.
And we've only seen VP play Vindicta once, and it was the first time we saw support Vindicta at Obikim, who ended up picking up like a rescue beam. But with the power of Vindicta early on, like you just said, Jake, you can't be everywhere with Viscous. There's very high potential for Obikim to get extremely farmed up really fast in the beginning. And I think I'm looking at ZP in chat, and we're still trying to figure out who's going to be necessarily on what because of like the Paradox and Geist and pocket picks. But Mo and Krill, Sherrick, Vindicta, that's going to be Obikim. And we're still waiting to see a Zergy pickup, which I'm kind of assuming it's just going to be an Infernus get out of him.
Could just Vindicta, no? Does he not play Vindicta?
No, they've only played it once, and it was Obikim. so far. I mean, not saying that he can't play
Sure,
it,
but that was
just
probably
in terms
in a
of
previous meta
DFN.
where it was like the Echo Shard support Vindicta. I mean, they could do that.
Dynamo.
Interesting Dynamo game. I guess it's a hard
Okay.
lockdown for Pocket. That like it's difficult for Pocket to escape. Counter initiation on Mokrill and Lady Geist. But this doesn't
Catholics.
feel like the draft you go for the Dynamo to respond to. You know, it doesn't feel like the overwhelming frontline brawlers. And VP still have a last pick to kind of adapt and you know go away from the Dynamo. So I'm kind of, I mean, this is very Parivision, right? It's very, you know, all in aggression, brawl it out. Okay, interesting. So it is probably going to be the Zergy and Furnace. Maybe it is Overkin Vindicta. I wonder if this is another support Vindicta style, if they're going back to that. Because, I mean, kind of the only hero in the draft that really can flex the support is the Vindicta.
Let's be honest, though. Like, the way Obi-Kim played Holiday, he wasn't support for sure last game.
That's fair,
maybe
that's fair.
Maybe they play without a support. But one thing I do have to worry about is any Catholic schools out there, because we have Dynamo picked again.
Yeah, we do. However, I don't necessarily know if that comp or that disease has spread to Europe. Yeah, I think that like people use
I
appropriate.
don't know. What do you mean? Listic was the one to make it. So, I mean,
was
he's
it
not going to
really
be playing
Listic's
it, but
comp? I thought it
yeah.
originated in NA. Oh, that's bad.
No,
okay, no.
Give Listic
Sorry
credit for that one.
All right, we're in the epicenter of the contagion then, folks. I've got nothing for you. Again, that is a composition in which we see the Dynamo basically be able to use their Kinetic Blast a number of times in succession at longer ranges and at low cooldowns. So a lot of knockups. There are, in fact, we're an early game in an esport here. We're an early stage in this esport. So many of you in chat probably know what we're talking about. But that is a reference there, a comp that knocks up a lot. So we'll be
Team up
Oaken
Pocket,
Vindicta.
Listic Geist, and Michaelis Paradox. So we got our answer eventually here of who's going to be playing necessarily what. But I this is what I love about like Virtus.Pro and even I guess the old Hydra Nation is just that flexibility that they all have within the team. I think the only one who's really not flexible at the moment is kind of Zergy, funny enough, because he really has, I think, the smallest hero pool on the team.
I mean, they took the guy off the 7 as well. Like, what's my boy supposed to do?
In Furnace,
rough, isn't it?
That's it. And then Furnace got banned like 3 out of the 4 games against them in one win. So
yeah, I guess they tried to target Zergy in a way, which is funny. Apparently not that easy to do. Obikim. Well, sorry, buddy. Yep. Take your medicine. This player's been finding that first opener there. Prestus, though, elsewhere does fall to Sharik, and that's actually in that very same lane. So both lane pairs actually ended up getting into their own 1 versus 1s.
yeah, at least it was a trade equally, except I think Virtus.Pro come out a little bit ahead because Prestus is only at 75 souls. Yeah, I don't know. Looking at like the comp, I really want to see what Litz is going to do on the Dynamo. If I remember correctly, this is the first time that we're seeing Parivision play Dynamo. And I believe it is for sure also the first time that Litz has played Dynamo. I'm just going to quickly check that.
In DFN, of course.
In DFN, yeah.
I think
No, he's played it twice. Sorry, he's played it twice.
Okay.
50% win rate.
Okay, we take 1-1. If I look back, didn't we not see one of the 1-win finals?
We did, but that was out of
That was
Listic.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. Interesting, like, so High Velocity Mag not picked up first. It's just the Hollow Point ward here for Litz. Can be a little bit awkward to farm with that sort of Dynamo gun. Obviously, the bullet velocity a little bit low. But some people don't really feel like it's worth the investment in the High Velocity Mag when you're not going to necessarily build it into its next item. So Hollow Point it is, just for that harder hitting potential. Ammo scab to start with together.
Headshot booster is also like really strong on Dynamo because when you knock someone up, they have that set path, right? So it's really easy to hit headshots the entire way through, and it can really catch you off guard with that raw damage you can do.
Yeah, and maybe it is like it's still a consideration, just not a first item. Maybe you just want like for those early fights, you want the Hollow Point just
the tether.
to poke better. Okay, it's going to be Scorn does obviously hit a big disarm on play with me. It's a little bit scary. And really no damage done to Sharik there. So that's an overwhelmingly 1 trade of damage for Virtus.Pro in the lane. Play with me a non-factor here a little bit. Bit of poke coming down. It does keep Sharik honest, but yeah, the VP again, trying to take an early advantage.
And 127 damage done just through the veil completely right there on the Prestus. A lot of extra damage done. You can see extra stamina picked up here for Obikim. Nice little
cute.
parry on the goose slap.
Puddle punch.
Puddle punch. Nice alliteration with that.
That's important to bear in mind that, yeah, it's not just enemy melees that you can parry off. some of those other abilities. There's a putter punch counters a melee. We'll get back to it. Here's a tether though. Play with me stuck in position. Obicam trying to get up to the sky. Okay, and there's a putter punch there. Knocks him back out.
So fast.
I love that. And that's why you obviously do see a lot of those melee based items built up on the viscous, right? Because he's a melee.
It is. And we did see a kill come in onto Tass over in lane 2. That was secured by Dmoff here. He's not normally playing in a dual lane, but he's going to be doing that this time. I mean, the pocket does provide a lot of damage. And the thing is, you can kind of leave him there while you send Michaelis on the Paradox to go gank over into lane 1. We'll find out if it's actually going to be Dmoff the one to do so, though I think Saf expects it to come.
I can't tell if they saw Dmoff there or heard them. Okay, barrage. That's enough connect for an easy kill here, surely. That was effortless there from Dmoff. Nicely done. Just a little rotate over. Saf ended up getting really low on a trade there in that lane. That's stunning. I think Taylor's looking for the Vindicta here, but it's going to be tough to catch. Obicam lacking. Blitz tries to go for a kinetic blast, and Dmoff gets yet another kill on this extended roam.
The response is a push on lane 4 to hit Zergy up. And Zergy just going to use that flame dash to get away, so he's going to be fine. Listic did go down to a
turret.
Guardian.
Yep.
Okay. That's
fine.
The best outcome for that, for sure. It just feels this whole like early part of the game just feels so odd because like some of this action just seems to be taking place at such weird moments. Like Saf dying, okay, that's understandable, but Litz dying right after we knew that Dmob was like still there, I find it a little bit odd.
Oh, that's nasty stuff. That's here. Lassoed. Dangerous. Oh, the jump pad. And I don't think there's any interest in challenging that. So, okay, Les moves up and might have actually tanked the Guardian for him a little bit there. Good little interaction, but it will be the Holiday getting it back out to safety. Big push here in lane number 1, though. Parivision have a 2-player setup here, looking to try and take that Guardian down. It's going a little bit low early already. Dmob trying to reposition or considers it with the flying cloak and does opt to pull out.
Popping healing right when you're in the air trying to get your damage amp right there is a little bit risky, but he does keep it up. He's going to be fine for now. He's already at full HP anyway, so not big of a deal. I'm looking at like what is Litz going to do in this, because they've been pressured in lane 2 quite heavily, and he does have his ult. He did pop a singularity somewhere, and as we can see, it didn't really net any kills. Parivision are definitely on more of the back foot, I feel like, off the get-go here compared to the last match.
I feel like we saw them being behind by about 6 to 8 kills at quite a number of points in that sort of early lane. Well, and they also were
most of those were play with me
Guardians. Right.
Yeah, they were. I mean, Virtus.Pro definitely in that control, but I mean, when the game extended 35 minutes, eventually Parivision were able to, power up enough with the comp they had. Nice little dodge out of Listic here. Off that 2 out of Saf.
Those gloom bombs are really scary up close. Fortunately, if you get hit by multiple, they only do 50% of their damage to you. So, it's either like stick 1 or stick all of them, I think, in many cases. For the Calico. Tass is backed up here. No big roams happening across the map right now, though.
Exactly. That's exactly where I was going to go, is that he's being kept honest quite heavily here. Like, we normally see Tass look for ganks in these lanes. But at the moment, like with Litz there, I think with Litz being like the dual partner, I mean, Litz can't solo really defend against a push out of Dmob and Michaelis. Like, he's just going to fall over. So Task can't really afford to leave to go for these ganks, I feel like.
Okay, this is Saf returning to this lane now. Won't lose any of this farm, so not punished at all for going on that little roam. Now that there's an opportunity for Oakham to do the same thing. Oh, excuse me, for the Geist of Listic to do something similar. But they'll just take creeps instead, maybe drift over towards this lane number 2 side, or just leaving themselves hedged to be able to respond pretty quickly. But if we got Jake there, I mean, this has been a pretty placid start to the game. We're like 7 minutes in and we've just not seen a ton of big rotations.
Yeah, both teams, playing it safe. I think VP with their back against the wall here. They've got to be a bit cautious. But now that all the ults are online, I feel like it is kind of up to VP to maybe get something going with this combo, start Vindicta snowballing with some of those snipe kills. Curious to see what direction Obicam goes with the build. But I think both teams have made it a very clean early game. Very small lead for Parivision, but I don't think that counts for much as they look to these next team fights to secure a real advantage.
Yeah, I'm looking towards, if we think of like Mo and Krill and Vindicta, I don't know why I just imagined Vindictor riding Mo instead of Krill. We would see like the combo into the assassination to look for those like early kills and snowball. But we know Obikim needs about like 7,000 souls before we can max that assassination to get the extra souls on kill. But we're not really seeing like the roam out of Shark for kills. We're not seeing the roam out of Task for kills. It's actually been like D-Mob to be the one to do so over in lane 1. So it's been definitely a quiet start here to both these teams. And the players we expected to have that early game impact just haven't had any.
South's got to respect this. They are trying to reach up here and get some good pressure down on the Infernus. But Zergy, though, giving them plenty of room. And now we're headed off elsewhere as Together will be left inside that lane number 4. Here's the goo ball that comes out. Going to be mostly avoided by Virtus.Pro there as yeah, it looks as if Obikim was able to run away with the Divine Barrier. Sharik here burrowed, so definitely a lot more durable, but has to pop out eventually, and that's scary. Oh, okay, but where did the Vindictor come from? Excuse me, I don't think Prestus was ready for that. Last Stand is active though, and what a shot though from Obikim. Beautifully done. Easy assassination off that combo. Michaelis, though, that was a fall over in that second lane. This is lane number 1 now, so fights happening everywhere. Return to Shadows used by Saf. And of course, Listic wasn't going to hang around with that. They still have Soul Exchange available, though, and I think Saf has to respect that.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's use the Singularity to lock down the KLS so they could pick up the kill with Tass on that one. So that, I mean, 1 kill is going to be worth out of Singularity at this point in the game. Man, I have to ask you this, though. Doesn't it break your heart hearing Viscous just cry like that, squeal when he gets shot?
Yeah, it's like... it's really, it's a bit too real, you know?
I got our next merch idea. Let's make a Viscous doll that if you squeeze, he makes that crying sound.
I'm a bit concerned about the kind of clientele we'd attract with this merch item.
Oh, I didn't say Viscous body pillow.
Okay, that's, I mean,
no?
Squeeze it from...
Merchandise, guys?
Why don't we leave that to the experts, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
no, we're what we do best. Let's get the yapping going. Obikim there to get caught out.
Breathe air with my giant nose. We do see Listic trying to push onto lane 1 here. He's eventually going to be shoved back. Also, the teleport comes through. Out of Together to look for the kill. The telekinesis comes in as well, and well, Listic should be dead. There you go. Good kill. Clean kill coming through.
I mean, you've got the nastiest 1-2 punching ganks in this game right now, between the Holiday, of course, and then Wraith. Demo falls to the Dynamo. Checks notes. Okay. That was Michaelis now realizing that this push on towards the Guardian has been ill-conceived. This could be a problem now. Lasso connects. Cold Front not quite off cooldown just yet, and the Carbine does hit, so that Michaelis has the speed advantage to get away.
The Carbine hitting then I think that prevented Task from getting the momentum he needed to get forward to hit the stun. Not like he necessarily get the kill. It's a big push coming in onto lane 4. D-Mob's going to come in to help out here in just a few seconds. You see the barrage come in, and it looks like Zergy will live to fight another day as D-Mob look he might try to actually get a kill here.
Okay, he wants to chase this actually. So straight through the TP, only half a second after. The chase is on. I mean, of course, D-Mob feels like he needs to get something for this. I understand that. Maybe at least some damage on the Guardian, but sees Return to Shadows and does not want to deal with it. Slowing Hexlo catching. Oh, Parivision might have got another one. Taz to the rescue for Parivision as Dimov had nowhere to go. God, that slowing Hex is so brutal just as he was trying to escape. And I'd be frustrated if I was Dimov. Nothing I'm trying to make happen across the map is working in my favor.
I felt so bad for D-Mob. You've seen him trying to use the punch to get away, but with the slow and Hex, he just had no momentum whatsoever. And Prestus is going for the push over onto lane 3 here. I mean, we only had 1 Guardian taken 12 minutes in, complete opposite from this last match. So it looks like a paradoxical swap had come through and a Kinetic Carbine, but I think Task should be safer, especially with the help of Litz.
Yeah, they're just walking away. Like, how many of these ultimates are going to be used here to get nothing? First Affliction, now the swap. Virtus.Pro with all of these, ability, getting absolutely nothing for their troubles. That Singularity is almost back online again. Obviously, Obikim is someone who needs to be in this game, be a real factor, but that farm is just not there right now. Still at 7k. Really not much of a threat in the grand scheme of things. There's another attempt from Dimov to find a catch, at least does result in a Guardian and a pick-off on the Holiday.
And Dimov's doing some work. I mean, AK Soul's not leading his team, but still creating opportunities with these kills coming through. Might even look for another one onto lane 1 on Saf, but he's going to have Into the Shadows, so should be relatively safe.
Let's
put a punch, man. So annoying.
So good. All right, Dimov returns for the Guardian. Saf's in trouble here. Affliction is available. Return to Shadows is waited out, so the Calico walks away, but that is a Guardian lost. Now, 2 Guardians to 1 favoring Virtus.Pro.
Only 2k soul difference between the teams, though.
Uh-oh.
Oh, he doesn't make the jump.
Not so available either. It's tough for Taz. I mean, Taz can dive these towers, by the way, really effectively because of this resto locket. I actually think that item is so busted. The amount of burst heal it gives you is very unexpected. Nothing like a healing rise. Like 400 health just for free, basically. Doesn't help Taz there, apparently. And he gets caught out by Virtus.Pro, who are now, honestly, trying to create some opportunities, but at least, on aggregate, some of them are starting to pay off here. This fight, though, probably won't look all that good for them as they're emerging from the satchel. Really sees Dimov just get blown up. And there's a cube here. This won't save the Warden, though, I'd say. Swap is in play. Play with me does eventually fall. Now it's a question of whether Prestus can actually get out of here. No, the answer is Virtus.Pro. Pile in, find their numbers advantage now. What ends up being a 2-for-2 overall should leave them now with even the ability to pressure the middle of the map.
Yeah, decent turnaround. They get a flex slot, so they get the third Guardian of the game. Litz is trying to push on the lane 2 to get his own, but it should be saved here by LS. Or sorry, Listic. What's the O? What are you looking at?
I was worried that Litz was about to get collapsed on, but I think they just entanglement away before the Vindicta turned up.
I like that. Collapsed. Like getting clapped.
I see.
Nice. It ain't... Well, who was the Infernus that got his butt cheeks clapped that DDK was calling out last week?
Oh, I remember that with the melee kill, yeah. Oh, I don't know who it was, but that'd
be a great mouse pad, like the mouse pad with like the 2 bumps for your wrists.
That's true. Yeah, really sussy, like the sussy anime one. Yeah.
Man, I gotta do some merchandising, I swear. D-Mob,
okay, honestly, your hit rate's been 50% so far, so that's good, but I wouldn't quit your day job yet, What's Taz's plan here? Again, want this passive pressure on the Guardian. There's the swap. Try and help out a little bit, at least with a barrel. Away we walk after the first flex slot now available to Parivision. Where we're looking to go now. Wow, geez, we're everywhere right now. Land the stun. Listic. Oh, though. Soul Exchange going to be used. Lasso immediately out in response, but this gets dicey. Fortunately, they're able to walk away. I think Taz made good use of that resto locket there.
So a little bit of a mistiming on the lasso to try to prevent the Soul Exchange from coming through. Just a little bit too late. But, I mean, in the end, they get the kills, so it's not too big of a deal. But they are going to lose out, though, on their last Guardian. So a little bit of an advantage for Virtus.Pro. They're sitting on a 4K lead. Nobikim, I don't think he's gotten a single assassinate kill with a 7K soul mark, like the max level assassinate just yet.
Yeah, maybe there was like one earlier on there, but Dimov is having a bad day. There is nothing that they could do to get out of that. Sharik also knocked up and yeah, also knocked flying.
3 kills. Did Parivision just go for mid? I mean, you don't have Black Hole. The singularity is not going to be too useful. I mean, there is some decent poke out of Virtus.Pro, but I guess they don't want to do it at this stage. I mean, definitely it's too late now. They're trying to look for some more kills.
Threat of the Zergy stun maybe puts them off the idea. I can see why. Saf just got roasted. No, they do not want fries with that. And this is, okay, good to see a Zergy game where they would have real impact, even sort of earlier on here. Obviously, you know, your heal banes and your, you know, spirit lifesteals being picked up here. This is the classic, the quintessential quantum entanglement route here that's being taken by Litz up into the balcony, and he still won't be walking away from this one easily. Although he's got those points in Rejuve Aurora that lets him still move after it's been activated, but we've just walked straight into a swap. That's freaking tough out there, man. Brutal. Okay, let's try to follow up on this one. Dimov goes in, the entanglement. He almost got away with it too. Crazy stuff. It's VP looking at mid boss.
Last stands up for play with me though. They do have the people to reinforce this one. If you're Virtus.Pro, you just got to back away. You don't want to do a 50-50 coin flip here. The last stand comes in, play with me, looking for the charge. You might be able to catch out one. Zergy's been locked down, but they get the kill outright on play with me. The assassin, I believe, came through. A combo's going off at the same time here, so they're trying to finish off a second player. But Virtus.Pro, they're still going to be down Listic in the meantime here.
Yeah, he just gets shot in the face. It looked like he was looking quite healthy, in fact, going in with that last stand. Maybe felt that because he'd popped the ultimate already, he had to commit to it. Now, though, Virtus.Pro could sort of take their time. Losing Listic, I think, definitely impacts their ability to go for this objective in earnest. Priceless, of course, is going to get out to make a quick return to the fray. Ideally with some better items, but see what's being worked with now for Zergy. Again, a lot of these just general you know, activated abilities that work in areas of effect. So we've got a rapid recharge coming up at tier 3. I noticed there for the Infernus. Majestic Leap, of course, being locked in now. So we're very much online if we're Dimov.
So if he's got rapid recharge, I mean, he went for the flame dash build instead of the 3 build. Paradoxical swaps going to come in. This is a really good catch on together. He's going to fall. I believe that should be a max rank wall as well. So you silence him, so there's no way to escape. And now Virtus.Pro, they're like, you know what? We feel confident to head back into this. There's no huge ultimates we really have to worry about, especially with Together Dead. So Virtus.Pro, they're going to go for the coin flip on the Rejuvenator, but they have every advantage in the world here.
Yeah, they've got a lot to work with. Jason, I feel like it's hard for them to mess this up, and they managed to secure it. Now they've got Overkim set up on this high ground. Tass already going to fall, and okay, this is much more of what we expect to see from a clean VP game. That is 4 down on the Parivision side, and we're about to chow down on some walkers, folks. I hope you're hungry.
And we said didn't want fries with that earlier. And
yeah, maybe I actually will change that to supersize me, brother, man.
I didn't know we had DFN and Deadlock. In the meantime, I mean, Listic was pushing lane 4 and gets himself a walker. So that's the first walker of the game. They're going to get themselves a second one. So that's going to open up a flex slot and maybe a third as they're pushed onto lane 3 at the same time. So I don't think they're going to go for shrines just yet. And they don't have a wave to push down lane 1, so they can't get the last walker of the game. But this is a huge gold swing or soul swing for Virtus.Pro.
Yeah, they are. I mean, it's absurd on what those 3 walkers can give you. But that's the risk you take now. Like, we're almost at 20 minutes into the game. And if you lose a fight at mid-boss, yeah, it's going to cost you sorely. But I understand Parivision felt like they had no choice but to try and go for it. Look, it wouldn't be an EU final without it going to 3 games anyway. Do you know what I mean? So I'm very much here for the VP win with this Rejuvenator now. And you can see the yellow snakes are really long, chat. And the blue snakes are really small. That's very good for Virtus.Pro. Now they're just going to farm the map.
Time bomb set.
Did you just explain it like I'm 5 or something like that?
Even though a lot of chat spends their time explaining these stuff, like we were obviously debating whether or not the patron was knocked, and we just failed to look at the map in between the soul totals and actually see it for ourselves. And like 5 people are like, and they're just lecturing us on it in the chat. So
you know what? Let's bring those 5 people in here to cast, and then we'll just criticize their casting the whole time. Let's do it.
It's funny. It was funny. I mean, I knew that obviously we're supposed to look there, but in that moment, chat, you know, we've got a lot going on. We've got lives and all that, and also I'm very easily distracted.
Speak for yourself about having a life.
Well, that's true. Sorry, I won't overstep there. Unstoppable, Dividers Kevlar picked up here. That's the Moen Krill and the Pocket respectively. The Toxic Bullets also represents a power spike for Zergy. And that's a period cooldown, of course, meaning that there are more pulls for Mikhail S. Here's Lasso. It's pretty rough out there, but Overkim just, well, shrugs it off, honestly, because if you notice, a lot of their build is makes it pretty survivable. They don't really give a damn. They're so far ahead in souls right now that it doesn't really seem to make a difference. Overkim walks away from that fight unscathed, and Saf and together get put in body bags.
I get Play With Me pushing right now on lane 3. They're going to send Listic back to deal with them. But the thing is, those shrines are down for Parivision because Play With Me's not here. I mean, this is not looking like the... Oh, I really wanted to say the name of the build. The knockup build that we were expecting just yet, because they're completely being snowballed over. They're going to lose the shrines. They're going to lose the patron. Play With Me's not even going to get the walker in lane 3.
Damn, bro. You just got lit up. Stuff out there. These streets are mean. What's that?
Did I give you that joke? That sounds like some...
No, it's from Skins, bro. Yeah, no, not Skins. Suits. Wait, you got it. Yeah, have you not seen Suits? You know, Lewis Lit.
Oh,
the
yeah,
lawyer guy. You just
Yeah.
got lit up. Damn. Come on, man.
You shouldn't have the quite annoying smile when you say it.
Oh yeah, I can't replicate that, bro. That's a generational talent.
The only big thing you have, it's not teeth, it's forehead.
Oh, I got it. If I say it first, you know, just the impact's not there. That's rough.
I mean, it's still plenty of impact for me at least.
It's not. Yeah, could have been so much more than that. Anyway, Parivision. Okay, let's go down across the map here.
Carbank's not ready.
And we are on the push. This one should be the last hurrah here for Parivision, chat. They are so far behind now, about 30k or so souls at this stage of the game. Basically all of the big ultimates are online here, except for Michaelis, of course, but that will be up quickly because he has that improved cooldown.
Telekinesis.
Okay, telekinesis.
Doing nothing. I mean, they're not in a position to capitalize off it. Just like Tass's Lassos, they haven't been in a position this whole game to capitalize off of that. And Virtus.Pro, they're just going to rush this down. This is going to be a match 3 for sure. Yeah,
we just watched Dimov dive into their spawn and pop Affliction. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We got a game 3 in our hands, folks. Make no mistake. Virtus.Pro able to fight back. It's a 22-minute game. Very, very quick. And again, they have a comp that we were actually still questioning, I think, through the pick and ban. Or at least we weren't like over the moon about it. We liked the fact that they had the Paradox. Obviously, that's very powerful. The Overkim Vindictor was like a bit questionable. I think, Jason, you were the only one that sort of had that clocked as an Overkim pick that we've sort of seen in the past. We saw the Zergy Infernus. Meh. Does Zergy ever get to that late game phase to sort of be properly impactful in this, in this economy? Not so much. But Virtus.Pro here looked really smooth. I really feel like a lot of the edges were found, outside of the comp here, really just some very, very strong lanes. And just, this is a bit more what we expect from them. They always seem to extract more value than they give up when it comes to trading objectives across the map.
I feel like there was nothing really that exciting on an individual scale, which is obviously very hard to replicate after the first match we had in this series, right? With all the individual plays. But like Obikim, I don't think he got like a single assassinate until like way later into the game. Obviously, pre-max level on it. So he wasn't like super impactful. Obviously the mid boss he was, but I believe he got 2 of those. But just looking at the stats, I think like Dimov was the only real standout player, as he did have some domination on lane 2. He had some good rotates into lane 1 as well, able to take down Saf. But it was just all in all, just a very like back to business kind of game for Virtus.Pro. And it was like the first map didn't even happen.
Yeah, let's bring Jake in and talk, because I think that we remarked how well behaved both teams seemed, at least early in the game. We know where Parivision was. They kind of had to be. I think they were being pressured very heavily. But Virtus.Pro, you said it, backs up against the wall. They weren't taking any huge risks. They weren't going for those, aggressive dives early in the game until they felt like they had enough reason to.
Yeah, I mean, and this has been VP's recipe for success in the past, right? Like playing these slow, stable games, making it about the macro game, eventually winning one fight, and then kind of turning that into some big objectives. And they replicated that here. Whereas last game, they really tried to push the tempo. They really tried to, kind of play Parivision's game. This time here, they were really sticking to their wheelhouse. And, in that vein, Parivision are the team who I think needs to be a little bit more aggressive in the mid game, based on their style, based on the draft. I think as well, like the Obikim Vindicta meant it was really scary to be in a slow late game where, yes, theoretically Vindicta's like your support-ish, like you might buy a rescue move at some point, but in the end, you're basically having an extra core on VP's side. So scaling into the late game becomes a huge problem with the amount of damage Vindicta can end up building.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that like Obikim, this build is looking less supported by the second, right? Alkfire was the support on they built up, but outside of that, like they were definitely ready to fight. Like bullet resist shredder there. We talked about the cube, Jason, being a good counter to like the Vindicta Mo combo, but we saw there that Obikim just scopes in at the cube and waits until it expires.
Saw it once, right? That was like fairly early on in the game, and then once the cube faded, so did the life of Prestis. Yeah, I feel like, I don't even know. Parivision just looked like a shadow of their former selves. Like they just were not there. They were not existent. It was a very slow, awkward early game out of both these teams. I think for Parivision in particular, Jake, you talked about they're the sword to Virtus.Pro's shield. That sword was blunt as hell because they were not, like Task was not a part of any early game kills, I believe. He did not get to rotate around to look for kills. And kind of with that, I feel like they fell by the wayside because he wasn't able to be the playmaker early on.
Yeah, I think the Holiday struggled to find pickoffs, trying to catch things like Pocket and Vindicta. Holiday's great at catching the low mobility characters, maybe better than Paradox, but those super high mobility opponents are a real problem. And I felt like that was felt here in the inability to land those landing stuns from the jump pad on the Flyers. And as well, the Dynamo really fell flat. Like we've seen Dynamo be feast or famine before. It kind of is in the nature of the hero. But no like big early game team fights, no real, multi-enemy ultimates coming down. VP really played around the Dynamo super effectively and showed why it's still just a niche pick.
Those are your end game scores here. And we can definitely see that, while Listic doesn't need to have such a big game on the Geist we saw previously, like for Virtus.Pro, right? The Geist was one of the biggest outputters of damage here. Zergy farmed up a Storm, 7-1 and 7 over the course of the game. They've got to be happy. And Dimov made some great little roams that really didn't put them in harm's way too much early in the game. The Pocket was a pick that we felt was good in that it denied the Kelvin, basically, and forced the Kelvin ban from Parivision, which, allowed VP to go down the line and get exactly what they wanted in the next 3 picks, right? They got the Infernus, they got the Moen Krill, and of course they rounded things out with the Vindicta. So we have a 1-1 series here on our hands, folks. Once more, Parivision and Virtus.Pro taking each other to the brink. One more decided map waiting for us on the other side of the break here at our Deadlock Fight Night number 14. This is the EU part of the show presented by Intel, so don't go too far. We've got a decider to sort out after this. Okay, so the sacred timeline has been preserved for now. Virtus.Pro have been able to claim their way back into the series with a pretty decisive showing, I think, in that second map, and are looking very, very good once again. I mean, these are teams, though, guys, that have a lot of experience playing against one another, whether in scrims, whether in officials. And that's why we've seen some things come up in the draft, like in the bans that we've been curious about, like why are they banning this? Why are we banning Mirage first? A couple bits like that. But These teams know better. Virtus.Pro, though, Jake, are able to, just take it slow and steady here through that early game and then explode off of a one fight around mid-boss into 3 walkers.
Yeah, I mean, and this was very much a game in Virtus.Pro's wheelhouse. Like they played exactly how they've constantly practiced. If anything, this makes game 1 look like a bit of an aberration where maybe they thought, okay, we beat them in the other tournament 3-1. We're just going to steamroll these guys. Let's just be super aggro. It blew up in their face. They lost that map 1. But now map 2, slowing the game down, playing as they practiced, they look great. That was a much more one-sided match than the first one. And so for Parivision, there's a real question going into match 3. Do you have to change things up here, whether it's the draft, whether it's in your approach to the game to catch Virtus.Pro off guard? I think maybe it is a little bit of a draft situation here. I think the Vindicta pick was really smart from VP. The way they played around the Holiday and the Viscous feels like those characters, typically strong initiators. We've seen them make big plays. Viscous last week, Holiday this week, but against this draft of the high mobilities, Pocket and Vindicta, they weren't really able to get the catches they need.
I mean, maybe one thing Parivision should do is head over to deadlockfightnight.com and get themselves some sweet swag that they can use while playing in Deadlock Fight Night. The hat is definitely being held up by my hair, but I just wanted to give the shout out there. We have a ton of merch for you guys to pick up for yourselves. We have new merch coming constantly. I think we have some Calico stuff going up on the site today, if I'm not mistaken. Get yourself an Abram shirt where you can read a book. For me, it would be the Iliad, clearly. And not to mention one of my favorites, the Bebop Get Over Here. You can pick it up for yourself, support DFN. All the money and proceeds go right back into the show. It does not go into our bank account, Mitch. And you can help and get you can help the show continue and get some sweet things for yourselves. I
mean, look, just fantastic artwork here. Also legally distinct as well, which is what we love over here at Deadlock Fight Night. So look, it takes a bit to run this show, and frankly, it takes more and more to do it as we try and scale up what we're capable of on the broadcast. And also, like we talked about, we're expanding into the Pacific region.
DFN Pacific, man. That's going to be so sick.
Stuff. Exactly. But in order to do that, your support really goes a long way. So we're ambitious about this esport. We believe it can go a long way. We're also ambitious about what we do over here at the show. And we'll hopefully hope that you can also see that vision, partner with us. If you can help, then great. Get yourself some merch and sit back and enjoy the show. We'll get our third map here just around the corner. We got
so back to the match.
Yes.
Ignoring that call. I wanted to bring this up to Jake. Look at the difference that Parivision had to go through to win the first match versus how Virtus.Pro won the second match. Obviously, the early parts of the game were drastically different, but I feel like every time we see these two teams play, Parivision always has to fight so much harder than Virtus.Pro ever has to when they win games.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that is credit to Virtus.Pro when they do just like lock the game down. It feels like they're just unbreakable. Like you can't find any ways in. Whereas Parivision, a lot of the games they win are a little bit crazy, a little bit messy, with a lot of like super aggressive dives from the whole team. You're not necessarily going to be coming out of that unscathed, even though it may be to your advantage. So for Parivision, it's a challenge to be able to leverage, especially if you're relying on winning the lanes, winning the early game and starting a snowball. If the lanes are just even, or if they even go a little bit against you, you really can't play that way. You have to be able to adopt the defensive posture. And so I think for Parivision, maybe for the future for this team is going to be about diversifying their strategy. Sometimes, needing to be aggressive and snowball the game. Other times needing to take a page out of Virtus.Pro's book and slow things down.
So we are not wanting to deal with the Dimov roams here. We were actually really curious at the end of the last draft, like who is playing what? I mean, that should speak, I think, to Virtus.Pro's extreme flexibility and ability just to cover a lot of those positions. But the Paradox, doesn't matter who was piloting it, it was Dimov, was extremely, excuse me, not Paradox, the Pocket was extremely effective in that early game. So getting around the map here, Parivision, we've seen them ban that once before in this series and in the past, and now we kind of understand why. That is still a very dangerous pick, and it might enable like an early Kelvin take here if you want something that, isn't going to counteract your healing over time in these more drawn out fights.
I gotta say, I'm really curious for the NA ban prio, because Sinclair has had the highest possible prio that a hero can have, which is to say whoever has second pick is always banning him so far. Yeah. Other than in the one game in which he destroyed the game in our best of one. And so honestly, I'm curious if NA rates Sinclair as highly as clearly Virtus.Pro and Parivision consider it the best hero in the game.
So complete duplicate bans in the same order for match one, but not duplicate picks, where we had Paradox picked over Wraith.
Holiday was was a weak spot for Parivision last game. Wasn't able to find the initiations where Mikhail's always has been great on the Paradox. I think stealing Paradox away from Mikhail's and Virtus.Pro is never a bad thing. On top of being probably a little bit more consistent and stable of initiator than Holiday. Don't mind the start, but it does give Wraith up potentially.
They've got to take it though before the end of this first round, but they can lock the Geist in. They really prioritize this. Obviously, we've seen it now. Virtus.Pro are picking it like every series they possibly can, and they're picking it first. They don't really want to risk it, getting away from them here. They obviously have another, pick to spend, and they can probably take Holiday a third pick if they really want to bring that into their composition, have access to that lasso, which we've seen most teams go to when in lieu of having the Paradox available to them.
Time for an adventure.
There it is.
They're like, all right, we're gonna take them early this time.
This is a pretty sick combo, actually.
That gives Wraith over for Parivision here.
Yeah, it does give Wraith over. I'm a little surprised. I would have expected to see the Wraith go second. But I mean, Kelvin has had ridiculous games, like so many times, whether it's like controlling the objectives, protecting, critical throne races on the patron, or just like healing up some of these frontliners. I mean, Geist, Kelvin, I'm a big fan of these early drafts where the first few heroes just have fantastic synergy, and the rest of the heroes you pick, you're very free to kind of go any different direction. You're not looking for partners for heroes you already have committed to in the draft. Like, even imagine if you had a team of just 2 to 3 heroes. You want that to be a strong team, I think, for these opening drafts to be really strong.
You were a bit surprised to see Mirage picked here over Wraith, but both these teams actually prio that quite highly. When Virtus.Pro
could still take the Wraith
first pick, they were trying to pick it up. And exactly, you've got.
I think it's pretty likely they'll take the Wraith here. If they don't, I'll be honestly surprised, because I think it's almost certainly going to get snapped up by VP.
Without sacrifice.
Well, my question is, are we going to see a Grey Talon ban out of Virtus.Pro? Because they've been banning that consistently to deny that away from SAF for Parivision.
They could grab it here too. I don't think it's crazy.
I mean, Listic plays it. I don't think we've seen him ever have the same success as someone like SAF has had on it, but like it is definitely in his wheelhouse for sure.
Are we going back to the 7 here as well? Like after the game 1, that was something that really didn't sort of blow our minds. I feel like the 7 was a big difference maker there, but they got much more value out of Infernus in game 2 than they did in game 1.
Back to basics for VP. I mean, the Geist and Warden combo with the help of Kelvin, very strong triplet of heroes here to just like group up, run it down super aggro with Kelvin supporting you from behind, helping you catch, saving you if the counter initiation comes in.
And it's a dirty lane as well. The Kelvin Warden setup we've seen like used in inner lanes on multiple occasions, and it's just disgusting. The amount of sustain and also just like poke between your flask and grenade makes it a real nuisance to deal with. So it's a Vindicta ban. Virtus.Pro, instead of banning the Grey Talon here.
I'm curious if Parivision bans the Holiday now, because I do think VP probably want the Holiday. I think they're banning the Vindicta partially due to the fact that Holiday struggles to catch a Vindicta. I think taking away Holiday could be nice here. I think VP would love to have that as their designated pickoff here. I mean, you could also go like a Bebop or a Mo Krill, but I don't think either of those are quite the same prio as Holiday right now.
I got work to do anyway.
Infernus.
Oh, wow, Infernus ban.
So you're really forcing Zergy to dig into his pool of heroes, and I'll tell you what, his pool of heroes is pretty shite. If I'm
is it going to be
honest
7 now? Is what else is left?
He's played Haze twice.
Zergy's off the 7 now, right? He's been pulled off the 7.
Well, I think he played it in their best of 5 in one win.
I want to see the ulti build on 7. I low-key think the ulti build is not too bad. If you can get like unstoppable on the ulti and go to the skybox with max investment in ulti.
All right, here's a 7 being picked up for VP, so that could well be the answer.
I just hope they don't put it in the side lanes. It's not an outer lane hero in my mind, at least. I feel like you have like AOE on your stun. You have AOE on all your skills right on 7, so it feels like a natural inner lane hero.
Him and Warden, like I've always looked at 7 as being like a dual lane, because any like hero that has hard CC like that should almost always be in a dual lane. But him and Warden together, you're gonna kill someone for sure.
Yeah,
obviously you do have the potential of Kelvin Warden, but like Binding Word and the stun at 7, you're gonna kill something.
So Mo and Krill is available. Obviously, there is still like a Grey Talon there for SAF if they want to go. I don't think there's anything.
This is the moment
that's going to dissuade that.
If you don't grab it now, I think VP could even steal it from you.
I think I want to say they're going to delay it to last pick potentially, because like you don't want to see a Bebop when you pick a Grey Talon. Obviously, like Grey Talon has the ability to get away where Vindicta doesn't, but like Bebop would be a pretty damn good hero to throw in
Darlings.
against a Great Talon.
Okay. Yeah, you might be right, because at this point, like picking a Holiday might have that same issue catching a Great Talon flying away. Struggling to actually get on top of that critical backliner that you need to catch makes it a little bit more difficult for VP here to select their pickoff choice. I think it may still have to be Holiday based on how the draft looks now, and may just be targeting other players for the most part, but not the end of the world.
VP have none.
Yeah, I mean, you get the hard stun from the landing damage from Holiday if you draft it, and you got the 7 stun.
Ooh.
It's really reliant on 7 setting up with the stun for Warden to hit the follow-up trap. If you're not hitting the trap, then yeah, you're right. I think it's going to be a struggle. Although I like the Warden. It means into something like Mokrill is like a free trap. Like when he combos anybody, he's just giving it up.
Is Viscous reasonable here? Some decent cube applications, and also a very ground-born, like relatively brawly Parivision team comp here.
I don't mind Viscous at all. I think the stun is really nice. The roll stuns are nice into Calico and Mokrill. Good call.
Lock it in.
I saw Mitch look at a second monitor. He was reading the script. I'm just kidding.
I don't think they've given us the draft screenshots since, but the great bamboozling of 93.
It's probably Ivy here for Parivision, right? Because like you need a little mid boss. You don't have a great mid boss secure yet. You know, you have a bit of global presence with Mirage. You'd love to have more. Generally, when you get some global, you kind of want extra heroes global. It's the Shiv, okay? So they're running it back with the Shiv, which, to be fair, was really strong previously. Although I do think the matchups for Shiv are a little tougher this game, right? With the Kelvin on the other side, being able to sustain through this, with somebody like Viscous being able to save people from certain death on the ulti.
Oh,
but Kelvin, in the end, I feel like VP have an interesting draft here. It's like, I guess they do have the late game secured because of 7, and then even, I mean, 7 Great Talent are going to scale insanely, but Viscous and Kelvin both, I think, is like pretty early game heavy as far as the draft goes. Like heroes that want to sustain and get early pressure, but that will fall off in like the ultra late. They're sort of both in the support role, unless Viscous goes for like a scaling spirit build, but I'm not sure how viable that is in competitive.
Okay, I mean, these comps are super interesting. Parivision definitely have the ability to like stage fights and take them kind of wherever they want across the map. There's still like a decent roaming here from Virtus.Pro, but I would not put it on the level of like pocket in your pocket Shiv level roaming with Calico. Like they don't really have that level of global presence, I think. And I think like the 7 is still a huge question mark for me.
I'm worried about a lack of damage on Virtus.Pro side. It's like you really need to delay that. If we're talking about like late game scaling, obviously one big factor that ZP really hammered was that Parivision had a better late game scaling team in match 1. But like I'm worried if you're 7 in Great Town and you don't have a decent start, is your team just going to be lacking damage in that like early to mid game, where Parivision can really just catch you off with like the paradoxical swap and the combo to Mo and Krill.
Okay, well, folks, this is it's a bit of a head scratcher comp for us looking at the Virtus.Pro setup, but everyone is on pretty familiar heroes. Listic will be on the Great Talon there. Sharik, of course, on the Warden, which is absolutely a comfort pick for them. Was it actually Zergi on the 7?
They're doing the lane 4.
Oh, they
it looks like
into the guys.
Sorry, lane 1.
Okay, so it is a solo lane 7, so it is going to be Zergi back on the 7. And yeah, Michaelis has realized, hang on, I've been had. They bloody double switched into me. That's rude. Good luck, senor.
I mean, who are they going to send over with him? The thing is, like, Listic's not going to have, or not, sorry, the way they keep swapping. Michaelis is not really going to have much, like, wave clear here to deal with this early pressure either. You can see him taking a ton of harass. I mean, Paradox with the one, Scorn out of Mo. It's tough.
This is annoying. Yeah, you don't like this, I think, if you're in the guy's position, but maybe just an early resto shot, or maybe like a healing right there, because you're going to get poked down. They did really well to get the farm that they did. Jake, what are your thoughts here about this like 2-on-1 in lane 1 setup here? Oh, never mind. Catch him in just a sec. Sharik's dead. He's bloody dead. Gonna be a 1-for-1
coming in though. Yeah, easy kill for Kelvin here. Ooh, I wonder if Kelvin can fight this as well. I think Kelvin's winning this. Oh no, I had to back off on the reload. But I like the super early lane pressure. We've seen this actually more out of NA, and I've barely seen it in EU. I think it makes a lot of sense for starting off the side lanes really aggressively. It tends to throw the early game into chaos, though, And usually I think players at this level are pretty all right with it, because even though you're shoving on the Guardian super hard, you know, that early protection, or I mean, I guess they've done half the Guardian. Like, that is pretty insane. And killing Mikhails, that's a big mistake from him to die into this lane. They could lose the Guardian in the first few minutes here.
Yeah, they might just straight up lose it. Whereas Saf has been able to stay alive underneath that lane 1. I mean, that is this, you're sacking a lane for another essentially, but the exchange seems to be working out pretty favorably here for Parivision. So that Guardian's getting down to about half now, so this is what you'd expect, that early pressure to come through. And desperately, they're trying to finish it off as quickly as they can. Soul Siphon, though, put the fear of God in Taz. He's trying to back away. Elsewhere, Saf does fall. So, again, that's 1v2. The solo laner against 2 falls for both sides here. And this Guardian is going to be under some serious pressure.
I mean, you're trading like a Guardian apiece in these lanes. Well, ideally, Parivision need to get back to the Guardian as quick as they possibly can. And then you're just going to see like solo laners kind of pick up the lanes where they do have a Guardian and they don't have one on the enemy side. It's going to be Virtus.Pro to pick up the first one of the game at lane 2. So Saf, I imagine, is just going to stay here for the most part. And I think we'll see I think we'll see Michaela stay to lane 1 while the rest rotate out.
Oh, I like it. Throws the group down. Tass a little bit low. Oh, they're not getting out. This is no chance. Elsewhere, you see the pressure come on towards the Guardian. That does end up costing Litz, at least gets it. But yeah, they've got to trade their life out for it. So if we had to really compare, it's Virtus.Pro to get the earlier Guardian and win out on kills from that exchange. Is that really all we can sort of conclude after this swap?
I'd say so.
I mean, I'd also say the inner Guardian is distinctly more valuable than the outer.
Yeah.
At this phase in the game, since the inner one is like, that's like an extra shop that people can pass by and use. It's probably more important when it comes to the map control than the outer lane. So all in all, I think VP navigated this super well, have a small advantage, but a real one at that.
All right. Surely we're going to see a drift over in this direction fairly soon. Yeah, there's some movement for Parivision, so they're leaving that lane number 1, heading inward. But at the same time, Virtus.Pro actually grouping up here at lane number 3. There are so many people here. Surely you find something else. A puddle punch thrown out. Yeah, Prestis is extremely dead. Irrevocably dead. Rigor mortis already setting in. That's how dead he was. So a big rotation for that 1 kill. Virtus.Pro obviously hoping to do more than just that off of it. And they've sent the Grey Talon Viscous there back to hold this lane number 2. And Saf will just drift to lane 1.
We have combo up. Cube's going to come through. Looks like Dimov, yeah, he's probably just going to fall from this one. Too many players on Parivision's side to deal with him. And with him going down, they can reapply that pressure onto lane 2 to look for themselves another Guardian.
It's a nice melee. Charge melee came out there, of course, from Litz, just knocking the cube onto their side of the map. And then an easy combo follow-up. Can't complain about that at all. Very, very clean. Still, though, it's 1 Guardian apiece. It has. I mean, as Jake mentioned, that lane swap does throw the game into chaos. Or rather, at least means that we see Guardians go down earlier in lanes 1 and 2, which kind of skews actually the safe zone, you know, in those lanes for either team. Now, it's like a bit more dangerous for Parivision to play too close to mid because they've lost that Guardian so early. But on the outer part of the map here, you know, you don't want to overextend if you're Mikhail. Unless you have a Viscous coming to help you. Then you can do what you like.
Well, we might be overextending now. See the Viscous coming through, but we also see the rotation out of Task right behind us with Litz. Looking to pick up a kill, I would imagine, on the Viscous, but I believe he's up high. He's completely on the roofs here, so there's no real chance he's going to fall for now, especially with his goo ball available in just a few seconds.
Good safe like, rotation.
Yep.
This will be able to roll away.
Just punching the mole when he's underground. Just don't see his health bar move whatsoever. I'm also surprised if we've completely ignored lane 4 for the most part. I mean, Zergy and Together just been going head to head, not really harassing too much, it seems, because their health bars are like relatively high. Just trying to farm as much as possible. I think for me, it's more about like, when do they plan to get involved into these fights? Also, I'm curious, what build is Zergy going for? Because he was kind of like the pioneer of playing Zergy in the solo lane with the ball build. But we've seen in recent times, most sevens, well, we've only seen realistic playing it, has shied away from using that anymore. It's more about the chain lightning and, of course, the ultimate.
Okay, Taz there, actually. Unbeknownst to them, maybe the fact that there's a ton of VP players right below them. Healing right on this one. Carbine at the ready. Catch onto Sharik, but in comes Overkim. Doesn't land that frost grenade and force Taz right on back here. I mean, that lane 4, I feel like, has just been left on an island by both teams. They probably both said, hey, don't fight, you guys. Farm up, because lanes 2 and 3 are basically a frenzy at all times. Dual ball here for Dimov is Definitely came to see what was what on this lane 2 side of the map. And here's a paradoxical swap now coming through. Telekinesis follow up pretty darn good. I think that's Sharik caught inside that, so it has to be a frozen shelter. Great counter to that little combo. No ultimates now up for the Parivision side there. And Albo is coming in. Where does it land? This is Listic in control. All right, actually catches out onto lane 4, but doesn't really give Zergy anything to work with. I don't think they were trying to fight anyway.
Nah, I don't think so. If anything, Listic was trying to steal some farm here, because I believe he can still share it with the owl exploding on the wave. And then he shares it with Zergy in lane 4, but then again, he can't absorb from 2 lanes anymore, I believe. Looks like they might try to catch out Saf here, but you know, just looking at Talon, just not doing nearly the damage we saw Saf do just last week with it, but it's hard to expect that every single time, as we do have a trade come through. Tass and Obikim both going to be falling here over towards lane 3. Yeah, we went from that like crazy initial start to a much slower, like late early game.
Is there a catch here? There's no tornado available for Prestas. I think they tried to, or rather there was a cold front from the person that they were teleporting onto the Shiv. Obikim has turned up in this lane though. I don't know if there's any real fighting to be done. Well, they seem to think otherwise. Arctic Beam here, really trying to freeze the situation down, and Tass is going to get caught. Man, Obikim is everywhere. Kelvin is so powerful right now. And there's no business here for Together. There's nothing to be done.
He's just so hot right now, Mitch. Switched on to lane 2 in the meantime. Depop able to take down Litz. I mean, they already had the Guardian before, and as we've seen, with that Guardian down, there's just no safe place to retreat to, and Virtus.Pro are able to pick themselves up 2 kills. We're only at the 8-minute mark, and the lead, obviously not that quite different between the 2 teams, but we are seeing Virtus.Pro take advantage of that Guardian being down, whereas Michaelis was relatively safe on lane 1.
There's going to be a stun here connecting onto Together. This could be it, folks. The Shiv might be in trouble. Together falls. And Zergy now with some help, because Obikim doubled back apparently to that lane number 4, and I don't think Together was ready for it. They wanted to fight. They had, of course, that ultimate ready to go. They end up falling. So things not panning out very well for Parivision over the last couple of minutes. It's only a mild soul deficit, but that lane 1, yeah, this lane 1 Guardian here is under a lot of pressure. Mostly Michaelis now ready to fight Sap as they pop out of the Return to Shadows. Dash on away there as Together still catches. Looks like a knife in the back of Michaelis as they fled.
Guess he boosted back in the lane after dying in lane 4, but Tassing got to rotate in to help out, or they're going to be losing the Guardian here momentarily. And Obi can just really does not seem to care. He loves to be aggressive. He didn't actually go for the Infuser in the beginning. We've seen a lot of Kelvins do that recently for the extra damage on the Arctic Beam. And well, Zergy, he's getting a little bit involved here with lane 3, looking for another Guardian. Looking to get them up to 2 so far in this game. And there's really no one on Parivision here that can contest this at the moment.
Yeah, and you can see that even with the spirit damage reduction to Guardians, he's still like 500 with that one sort of electro ball, whatever you want to call it. Very, very effective at sort of pushing these down. Still, here's the swap on with Sharik elsewhere. Frozen Shelter is a great answer to this, as per usual. So Obikim and Sharik group up inside the shelter and then look to back away. There's nothing to hold them in place.
It's a 4K difference. Oh my god, the combo from the Storm Cloud. And Zergy's just going to fall trying to defend his Guardian. And they're going to be losing this. So it's going to be at 2 apiece. And that, 4K lead we had is just going to dissipate as they get another catch on to Play With Me. Man, Play With Me, we didn't even mention, by the way, he is on the rate this time. And I did say at the start of the first match of the day that he has 100% win rate out of the 4 matches he's played on it. Looking for maintaining that win rate here with number 5. But he doesn't also seem to be necessarily like the playmaker at the moment within the team that he was previously when he played Wraith.
God, so annoying. Yeah, look, I mean, that's definitely a pick with Play With Me that you have high hopes for. All of a sudden, I mean, I'm pretty sure we just said Virtus.Pro, or rather Parivision to be getting the short end of the stick over the last couple of minutes. That has definitely changed. They are getting killed in every single lane. And Guardians are falling also quickly as well. Both teams have found 3.
Ultigo's got to be careful in lane 4. You see the Traveler being used. Also the Teleport being used over to lane 4. It's a massive skirmish here. Zergy's able to get the first kill, but what can Parivision really respond with?
You can definitely fight this. I mean, you have enough teammates in position now. Zergy's been mostly ignored. Frozen Shelter comes up, so this is a good sign. Zergy gets free Guardian damage. Well, free. He's taking damage in order to get it, but that is sick. Kelvin, you have to ban Kelvin. The guy is far too powerful. 60k heals, Frozen Shelters to counter every kind of initiation ultimate, or use it aggressively to guarantee your initiation ultimate gets that kill. It's too good. Play With Me just gets absolutely rolled over here in Virtus.Pro. Well, they look like they were struggling across the map. They boost back into basically every lane, and now Yeah, it's Walker time.
Can they get this Walker? Yeah, look how fast it's actually falling here. You also have Sherrick behind them. No last stand available, but if anyone tries to push out, he could easily get a catch. And instead, they will back away. Virtus.Pro just taking a massive advantage here. I talked about them being like only 4K ahead before. As Michaelis, that's going to be the cube to come in, and together his hope shattered by the cold front out of D-Mob.
Yeah, the cube though. The cube is such a meme in that little engagement. It could have been pretty good for together, but they've actually had some unfortunate situations already this game on the ship. That one just being the most recent in a spree of them. Still, no walkers got picked off there from Virtus.Pro, so the response has been good from Parivision on defense. But of course now, like, we're heading to the 15-minute mark. We're still very much in a contained state in this game, but we're already like Surge of Power getting picked up. So a couple of those T3s, Heroic Aura, now online for Sharik. So of course that Warden is starting to become a bit of a nuisance in that front line. Well, Taz, nice knowing you.
Just looked like he was a vat of acid right there.
Yeah,
I think
like
that
he was just melting.
out of D-Mob.
It's a great way to dispose of the evidence, I guess.
For sure. I mean, if we're talking Breaking Bad, that's the perfect way.
Yeah. Let's Officer Sharik come by and wonder what is going on. There should be a earn turn in that is a little hard to challenge, or rather Parivision not really valuing being in position to challenge this. Once again, Saf CC'd by every possible mechanic in the game. Has to use that ultimate just for safety, and it's not going to be enough, unfortunately. Yeah, that glorified invulnerability phase still gets them caught. Now we turn our attention to Saf, who still hung around there, so heavily slowed up. I'm surprised they stayed alive as long as they possibly could have, but again, it's really tough to avoid this. Cold front news there. I appreciate the parry. Obikim really is the kind of person that goes and gets things done themselves. As soon as they start to get a decent amount of souls under their belt, they will just go.
I mean, think of his holiday before. I mean, he was the one making plays for his team. A play I don't understand, though, was Parivision letting the Urn go away and trying to push onto lane 1 when they already had the Guardian down. They could have pushed a different lane, maybe like lane 3, to look for another Guardian just for some objective damage. But in terms of objective damage, they are shoving down lane 4 as quick as they possibly can. And Sherrick using the Warden pretty much the exact way we've seen him use the last couple of weeks here, using that last stand to try to get the objectives down. And that Walker is extremely low in HP.
It just lazily turns and throws a binding word down on whoever might sort of stop him. You can see just how highly the objectives themselves are valued here, as opposed to just finding the kills around them. This might result in Sharik getting killed ultimately, as Litz is hot on their heels. Warpstone used to come forward. Okay, well, help has arrived. That is a very odd time to pause, Saf. Play with me did DC from the game. Fair enough, but this is always awkward now when you are... Yeah, let's see how this plays out. So... we have just had Sharik fall here. Obikim is also dead. So they obviously, after they pulled off those heroics, finding the kill on the Calico, they were chased down. You got to favor Zergy there, but Tass is waiting, and frankly, there's not a whole lot of help. In this vicinity is also the Mirage, as you can see there. So not a fight I think you want to take if you're the 7. Well, your only backup is the Grey Talon. I think Zergy has so much time to consider this. I think there's pings on towards that lane as well.
I wonder if they're ever, when we get to like lands for Deadlock, if they're going to implement like a similar rule they have in CS, where if there's like tech pauses like this, no one's allowed to talk at all.
I mean, yeah, we'll be at land, so there won't be disconnection issues, but yes, I mean, normally tech pauses can't talk. Zergy got out in the end. As he had tons of time to contemplate the field in front of him. It was full of enemies. Listic, though, won't be so lucky, I'd suggest. Kinetic dash. I like this routing he's trying to take to get out of there. Also throws down the snare. Beautiful. Okay, he got out. Love to see that. Altime
coming through. Oh, look behind. D-Mob's behind them.
Nice connection. 2 people caught out by that one. Obikim stunned up, though. Play with me does eventually get caught. It's going to be a tornado away. Here for Prestis, trying to put some distance in between him and VP, but I don't know. I feel like they have built up a critical mass here, Jason. A real head of steam. And again, was that a Spirit Lifesteal picked up and a Heal Bane added to the inventory for Zergy. Mid-boss time.
D-Mob's position, he was just ready to puddle fist them from behind and really push the pain on them. Prestis and Play With Me both going down, and this is going to be a mid-boss attempt out of Virtus.Pro. The steal potential... it's not high, but it's not impossible for Parivision. Rejuvenator is going to be falling, but one thing we can see is Parivision are not going to be contested whatsoever. Their response, though, is Safta to run the Urn. problem, Virtus.Pro can easily get there in time to stop him. So I don't even think they're going to get the earn off of this, which is going to be a double loss.
Yeah, just the way this is sort of played out, Jason sees the earn location or the turning location right by the walker that Virtus.Pro are eyeing off. Alkfire now picked up for Taz, so he's shoving those waves in one after another. Tesla Bullets also picked up a little bit. So Play With Me definitely still a legitimate threat, of course. Still,
wow,
want to get the Wraith into the game a little bit more, but Virtus.Pro have such a soul distribution here across their team. Everybody is going to be feeling quite powerful.
I didn't think Parivision would get the earn turn. I thought Virtus.Pro were actually going to contest that. But they get it either way. A little bit of extra souls for themselves. It's only a 5k difference, fun enough, between these two teams at this stage in the game. But with the Rejuvenator online, they can afford to go for some of these fights and look for these last two walkers of the game. Get another flex slot for Virtus.Pro and look to extend that lead. Obviously not as easy of a match so far for Virtus.Pro compared to match 2. But they have kind of set things in motion for them to start to snowball this game somewhat. It's about Parivision like stopping the rot here. And they need to respond by not letting these last two walkers go down and not overcommitting resources to stop a push on one of these lanes.
A few more of these slowing hexes picked up by Virtus.Pro. In a pinch, I guess they can be used as an initiation tool, of which they don't have many on their comp, right? They have the the Arctic Beam from Overkim. That's really kind of it. I guess the goo ball stuns, could say that gives you an opportunity, but yeah, slowing hex feels like a good way to, I don't know, just sort of supplement that on your team.
It does help control Listic because he can't like move as freely, I believe, from that one. Like the dashes kind of helps control him a little bit since they don't really have a hard answer to him except Litz, who can't really afford to go that deep unless you're going to hit the paradoxical swap on top of this. But the way Virtus.Pro are set up, I mean, the downside is they don't have like lane 2 and 3 walkers left. It's 2 and 4, which makes it a lot harder to rotate in to help each other out. So you kind of almost have to commit like one player to lane 4 and hope they don't get overwhelmed. And if they do, you hard shove one of these other lanes to get the last walk or the third walker down.
Yeah, it's a little more awkward. Listic's starting to hit pretty hard here. That improves Spirit, of course. That's tier 3 in the Inventor. Starting to really confer some extra damage to a lot of these charge shots. And
so weird to like not see them really go for anything off this rejuve. It was like a take of opportunity considering the kills they had. I guess they just wanted it mostly for the lane pressure and a little bit of extra souls, but they're not really capitalizing off it, right? They're just kind of farming up.
Jake, why do you think that is here? The Virtus.Pro sort of just, looking to play a fairly conservative post-Rejuvenator game.
Yeah, I mean, I think VP are smart to slow the game down right now and just focus on, farming the map, getting further ahead. Like, although they have the rejuve, the soul lead isn't too crazy. And you think about the objectives on the map, like if Parivision wins a fight and secures some objectives, they'll be right back in the lead. So I think VP are right to not force too much here. And there's not many camps available on Parivision's side if you check the minimap. So I think there's an opportunity here for VP to, by slowing down the game, to expand their soul lead, cleaning up some of their own camps.
It's almost like trading the Rejuvenator minion buff for those neutral camps across the map, allowing you to sort of passively push those lanes up without actually having to be present in them. And see, that is definitely what we've fallen to now. So again, we're getting to the point where some of those more important items are starting to be built up here. You can see the Play With Me is definitely going to be, a threat. I think that's an intensifying magazine there, picked up at tier 3. So
yeah, we have Jake here, right? So I actually want to go into this because Tesla Bullets has been one of the most argued items for a Wraith. I know Zergy is actively against it, but we see a lot of other Wraiths pick it up. What's your opinion on Tesla for Wraith?
I mean, I built Tesla, but it's just because I think it's like playing more for the insane farm potential and snowballing into like an ultra late game Wraith, especially if you build this like end game build with the sharpshooter and a bunch of like siphon bullets and become this like super tanky, super farmed beast. As we see, it looks like Blast Walker going to be going down with the help of this Warden, who, by the way, moves at Mach 7 with all these movement speed buffs on, just walking.
Yeah, it's insane. You were just... Yeah, I got the sprint boots on, of course. That is kind of terrifying, especially if you're in a fight against that stuff. Now, the Tesla bullets, right? They don't count as like they don't proc other on kits, right? They're just like spirit damage shocks that come out from them.
Yeah, I mean, Wraith, like you have the card. Oh, we'll get to that in a second really quickly since we're seeing a fight over the buff and had already spawned in and been taken. The Frozen Shelter has gone down. Virtus.Pro don't have too many members committed over to this, just 3, because in the meantime, they're pushing lane 2 here, Mitch.
I mean, they're doing a pretty good job, though, of keeping Parivision busy. They've definitely catnipped them over on this side of the map, but can they stay alive, or do they lose a lot of tempo from this? it will be a Walker exchange. The Guardian is still actually up in that very lane that they're fighting. So it is going to take Parivision a decent amount of time to get anything really significant off of this. It feels like Virtus.Pro choose their engagement pretty well.
I think it's a win for them, to be honest, because if they can keep this Walker alive, they got an extra flex slot, and Parivision got nothing except the Guardian and 2 kills. I think the flex slot's going to be a little bit more valuable right now for them, and it looks like they will be able to reinforce this lane 3 in time. But to go back to the Tesla thing, yeah, it's just, as you heard Jake say, it's just like for farming, because Wraith, I mean, you're really high in single target damage, but you can't really AoE that easily except your cards, which again, with the constant nerfs to it, doesn't really do as much anymore these days.
Yeah.
But I can definitely see it. I mean, if we have Zergy on, we should ask him why he kind of strays away from Tesla as well, to kind of get like his opinion on it. But it is interesting to see like a different build path for a race.
Because it doesn't proc siphon bullets either, right? The Tesla shots.
I'm not sure actually on that.
No, but siphon is capped at like a per second amount, so your Wraith shoots so fast it won't. You're not looking for extra procs. I think you're really
it's like
just
0.8 seconds. I think 1 per 0.8 seconds. So
exactly. So if you're somebody like Wraith, you're just going to be procking as fast as possible, regardless of that item. I mean, I think that the reason not to buy it is just that I think gun slots are at a real premium on Wraith. You might want to be building intensifying magazine or escalating resilience. There's a lot of these like pretty solid 3Ks that Wraith can look to on the gun slots. So I think that's really, it's not that Tesla builds is bad. It's just a question of, do you actually need to accelerate your farm? I think one thing in pubs we see is a lot more jungle camp farming, where in competitive play, the teams are really, really focused on pressuring lanes as much as possible. Like players are really like not going to go look at a jungle camp. They're going to clear the next wave or push the wave a few seconds faster. And when a whole team plays like that and they're constantly shoving waves on you, if you start to send people to jungle camps, you're going to get hard punished for it. So I think if I had to guess, that's probably why he's a little bit against the Tesla bullets, is because he's probably just against doing the jungle camps at all. So speeding up your jungle camps isn't even worth it if you just shouldn't be doing them in the first place.
And we have a pause here. That was it looks like Preston and Play With Me both reconnected or had to DC for a moment. This is a decent time at least to consult some of our pickups here. So the superior stamina now comes online, of course, for your Grey Talon. They're getting around the map pretty easily rather. Some T4s getting built up as well. We'll be able to cover them. We've got a Fortitude here. Okay. And in comes the diver. Man, I got that lethal slash so much, even though you built so tanky. Return of Shadows doesn't quite get a hit. Looks like Michaelis did have to make a soul exchange there. Saf, though, is probably exhausted their durability now, and they just overextend Dimov, waiting for him to step up. And Jason, these are not the mistakes you can afford to be making at this stage of the game.
Who did he soul exchange? Because Saf's health didn't move.
There was another play with Saf, no?
I think it was Saf, actually. I think Saf might have
health though.
Locker maybe
pressed the ultimate. I wonder if you like ulti right as you're getting soul exchange, if you block the damage but you don't block the heal.
Yeah, I think so.
It could be something like that, because I'm pretty confident he soul exchanged Saf just before the ulti came off.
We've seen Resto Locker picked up sometimes to counter the guys, or at least just to give you an infusion of health back in case it does get swapped off you. Or not, maybe not specifically to counter guys, but we've seen a few players take it in games that she's featured in. So yeah, either way, not really sure. But Parivision got flattened there. I think that's the take-home message. Just we're watching Saf struggle. Parivision just get blown to smithereens in a matter of pure seconds here. So this is Virtus.Pro do what they do about the 24 minute time frame in the game, looking to knock themselves a patron.
Yeah, I got way too distracted with that interaction to realize that Parivision got completely wiped out now, and Virtus.Pro, with their second mid-boss of the game, are starting to knock on the front door of the base of Parivision. You almost guarantee that these shrines are going to fall. I mean, they should be falling at least. Are we going to be looking for a pick here? Luckily, Parivision were able to respawn back in time before Virtus.Pro technically got inside of the base. And Dimov, I think he's just looking for an opportunity to get in with his ball, especially when the wave catches up to him.
Yeah, I mean, right now it is a matter of Virtus.Pro waiting for their opportunity. Prestis is down, and that's a shrine that is going to fall here almost certainly. Parivision now with only 5 players left. What's the play? They've got a lot of lockdown, right? Of course, they got the telekinesis. They can combo here. They've got a swap to work with. Warpstone going to be used there by Dimov to try and get away. But yeah, in response, there's actually just the frozen shelter that goes down. That's not in response to any ultimate from Parivision in order to engage that is just to secure that pick off. So fair enough. It's not going to be any use to them inside the pit anyway. Here's the first swap. Finally comes out. Listic does get caught. There's the base guardian going down now. Carbine activated here for Tasman. What is there to shoot at, really? Here's where most of the fight's happening, and there's an Alk fire amidst all of it. Zergy now gets his moment in the sun, or by the sun, as it were, with that storm cloud that actually seems to be pretty bloody scary. That is filthy stuff. Zergy able to at least find the one. Does fall. Now the patron will fall. What a time buy. Zergy getting up there. That was Virtus.Pro knocking the patron and cleaning it off essentially in the same fight, which is a rarity.
That, I think that caught us completely off guard. Like, honestly, I was looking at Zergy, like seeing his ultimate. I was like, oh, so he did max his ultimate first. I didn't realize like they were hammering that patron to close it out. This is the 4th week in a row now that Virtus.Pro have been able to win, the longest streak we've had in EU. And I mean, the thing is, losing that first match must have been so frustrating for them, but to see them mentally reset, come into match 2 and win in 22 minutes, then come into match 3 and keep that composure, I think is like a true testament, like how damn good they are. But that was such a weird finish considering they got a full wipe, a mid boss, and a push to win. Like, I was expecting a little bit more.
Yeah, this is how Virtus.Pro do it. Let's bring Jake back in. Plenty to talk about in this kind of game, right? First of all, for me, Kelvin is insane. He's so powerful. Whether you want to use him aggressively to like start those fights, or you can use him to counter a lot of those initiation tools. But let's start from the beginning. Parivision end up swapping their lane 1 and 2, right? They end up getting a 2v1, but they also put themselves in a 2v1. Now, the lane that is in the 1v2 for Parivision, Jake, is the inner lane, which ends up losing its Guardian first.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a subtle trade, right? Like, you think Guardian for Guardian, pretty decent. A couple more kills go VP's way, which I think is nice for them, a little bonus. They delay like one more wave. But ultimately, the inner Guardian, you know, when that goes down, it frees up those inner lane players to rotate more freely versus, you know, freeing up your outer lane player, you know, they probably won't rotate even if the Guardian is down. They probably still want to stay in the solo lane and get farmed up. That's not a shop that's all that relevant for anyone but, you know, the single solo lane player. Whereas losing that middle lane, I think it opens up a lot more options on the map, and a team like VP are great at finding the best use of those options.
I mean, and Jason, this is classic VP style as far as I'm concerned, right? It's just like take good early advantages, have like a 3 to 6k soul lead, have a fight around mid boss, or just sort of clear the map, you know, like take one big fight win and then blow the game completely out of proportion, like blow the doors off, so to speak. They definitely don't want to play that chaotic early game, but my God, when they get into the driver's seat, they don't shift down any gears, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think that's why I've always said to me, like Buff and Joyers then, Virtus.Pro now, they are easily the best macro team in EU, hands down. And I would still even say a better macro team than Hydronation were at their peak, just from what we've seen. They were the first team I've ever seen take a 5, 10, 20k soul lead and close out games with that. Whereas you see a lot of other teams in EU and NA, they need like a 50, 60, or if you're melee creeps, a 70,000 soul lead to take down a team like Hydronation in match 1 last week. But I'm so flabbergasted at how anticlimactic that finish was though out of Virtus.Pro. Like, I'm still just like, how do we go from match 1 being insanely close to match 3 where, you know, one fight turns around the entire game and they close it out? I was hoping for more out of Parivision, honestly.
That's got so much more to do with the team that's leading in those scenarios, though, right? Like, Virtus.Pro don't give you those exciting finishes. They give you very decisive, like, shut the door on you finishes. They don't let you back into the game. Whereas Parivision always play loosely enough, I feel like, to give you some openings, right? To want to play flashy a little bit. And VP aren't about that life. VP did that in game 1. Remember, they had like those they did pretty well out of lane and went for these like dives behind his guardians. They didn't clear them all. They were like ahead like 4 guardians to 1, I want to say. Like, it was crazy how far ahead they were.
6 objectives to 1, yeah.
Yeah, just got a little bit too ahead of themselves. So I think we should start talking about a player of the match here, though, presented by Intel. Over the course of the whole series, by the way, not just for this one map. And our player of the match is going to be, checks notes, Mikhail S, guys. And a lot of Lady Geist play from Mikhail S over the course of this series, right? We wondered, like, there was like the second game, there was like a paradox in the comp, but like, oh, what's Mikhail going to be on? But in general, VP, they prioritize these guys so much, Jake.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of it comes from Mikhail's being really strong in the hero. I mean, game 1, I think, was his best performance. Even though they lost, I mean, his just ridiculous stats, top damage to the lobby on Geist with a ton of healing, kept that game going for as long as it did, largely because Mikhail's was so strong on the Geist. And then game 2, the paradox, you know, just a masterclass from Mikhail's. At this point, it's like when he has the Paradox, you just expect it at this point. It's almost normal. Like, he's gonna find every pick off. He's gonna have huge hero damage, huge objective damage. But I mean, in the end, we still gotta think this guy is the best Paradox in Europe right now, and he's been that way for a long time. He's been on top, and it seems to just continually get better and better. The Geist is a nice addition to the pool. I think it fits his, playmaking semi-carry style. But it's another big threat now that teams are going to have to think about when drafting against him. So the game 3, I think, was the quietest of all the games for Mikhail's, relatively not as explosive as some of the others. But I felt like he endured really well despite facing that 2v1 early lane. He brought it back and was still very much a relevant force, on top of finding a lot of swaps that really complicated some of these team fights for Parivision.
And then you have the end of game. Obviously, Zerky gets a pretty decent showing here on the 7 in the end. Well farmed up, and a couple of these, cheesy storm clouds toward the end of this game might have padded those stats a little bit. You know what I mean? Diving into the spawn might have had something to do with it, but in general, yeah, great showing here. Virtus.Pro showing us that it doesn't have to be just listing on the 7. They can move that around a little bit. We think back to how we thought about this comp, right? We were like, where does VP's hard pick, hard catch potential come from? But it looks like they were able to force fights around objectives and give Parivision a reason to come to the table without them having to literally lasso them, right? Without them having to drag them into an engagement. Plus, they all have slowing hexes as well. So they were able to, as soon as someone overextended a little bit, they could super punish, and then they had enough mobility to sort of dive them. But they just pushed objectives. They said, come to us. We're going to fight. We're going to fight you under your walker. If you don't fight us, you will lose these objectives. And that's kind of how they win without this true hard engage.
Yeah, and I actually really like the use of the 7. It seems kind of memey there at the end to be ulting into the enemy base. But really, that's one of the best uses of 7's ultimate, right? In the end of the map, you got to think, right, in this huge map of Deadlock at the center, these 4 lanes so spread out, but they all terminate in each base, right? So if you're 7 ulting in the enemy base, you're clearing every enemy creep on the entire map. At the same time, you're zoning the enemy back. You can out damage the heal they get in their base. It's incredibly hard to re-push into that. You basically have to deal with the 7 first before you can get anywhere else. And so whether it's defending the base in a full committed push or just going all in and finishing the throne, the 7, I think legitimately that is his strongest point in the game, is when he's ulting above the enemy spawn.
Now, we have an opportunity here to interview one of our winning players, and much to their chagrin, I think, we have selected Listic to join us here. So we're bringing Listic into the channel, mate. Thank you so much for joining us. I've told Jason to go easy on you for this. How are you feeling? Once again, our Deadlock Fight Night champions.
Feeling really good, just another one in the bag. Pretty easy for us, not at all humble. Yeah.
Oh, good to hear, mate. Look, you guys are prioing the Lady Geist really highly right now. We saw it in the 1-win tournament. We're seeing it here as well. You guys are first picking it or getting it in that first rotation. What is it about the Geist that you as a team are really, that makes you really want to get her in early in these drafts?
The main thing about Geist is the damage is just the damage, the sustain, the tankiness. It's just a presence in fight. It's always the swap. The swap is the most broken. It's one of the most broken abilities in the game. The fact that you can just shove a Geist in and completely annihilate their carry if she just warps down, swaps the guy. It's just completely takes the guy out of the fight. It's ridiculous. That's the main reason. She's just really stable in laning as well.
Is it my turn? Can I go?
Jay, I see the look on your face, Jason. I told you to be nice.
All right, because let's be honest. If you have Listic here for an interview, chat wants to have one question answered. And of course, we're going to have to talk Dynamo. And the question is not going to be about him, actually. It's going to be about you in particular as a player, Listic, because I feel like myself and in general, you'll get to it. You've always been heavily criticized as having a very small hero pool when we first saw it, right?
This is a great opener to the question, Jason.
you're always about Abrams. I want you to talk about at what point did you realize that your hero pool needs to expand, and what have you been doing behind the scenes? Because you have definitely filled out to be one of the most versatile players that we've seen in EU.
Yeah, it's as simple as me just looking at what other teams are doing better than us and thinking, wow, that character is really good. I should pick up that character and probably try and fit it into a comp somewhere. the matchmaking in the game right now is like horrendous. So I actually don't know if in matchmaking, you know, it's like good or bad. Until I take it into scrims, we don't really have many opportunities to like actually practice characters in scrims. So you need, I don't know, I'm quick at learning stuff. So it's really good for me to be able to be that guy that, you know, flexes to other characters when it's needed.
Then let me go one step further on that then, because the opposite of you right now, I feel like, is Zergy, who's played like less than 5 heroes in DFN this entire time. Do you think the position Oh, okay, so that's why you went with the build with Dynamo and how you named it. Okay, Jake, what do you got for him?
Yeah, that was a fantastic answer, Listic.
I can't believe
really
they let us air that.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
He's,
you know, the audience are going to be
mad smack. That's crazy.
They're going to be going back to that one, you know, reviewing the replay, checking the clips. But, you know, of course, we'll leave that to them. Listic, I just want to close out and talking about you guys as a team. I mean, we've been really noticing how good your team is in a defensive situation. When you're in a defensive posture, you guys look really strong, playing the macro really well. I'm curious, like communication-wise, who on the team is really leading comm-wise when you're in that spot, playing defensively, holding the game down? Is it everybody talking? Is there anybody leading more than others? What can you tell us about sort of the internal communication of the team?
It is so messy, but there is, yeah, that's like the simplest way I could put it. But it's everyone is talking like at once. This game, I think, requires it though, because the 4 lanes, the amount of plays that can be made, the objectives that are constantly spawning, there's a lot to keep up with. It's not like as simple as being able to have that one IGL guy, you know, and like Overwatch or something where it's just 2 teams fighting.
Yeah.
I mean, even Overwatch comes, you know, it's quite messy, but yeah, Deadlock has so much to pay attention to.
Yeah, there's so much that you can't see as well. That isn't always also like clear from the minimap. Listic, thanks for joining us, man, and congratulations on another Fight Night win. Hopefully we see you back same place, same time next week. What do you think?
Yeah, should be.
Sounds good, buddy. Take
Put
care.
up another one.
Joining us.
All right, see you.
Tristan, I said be nice.
I can't believe he said that though, like about Dynamo.
Yeah,
like
man.
chat is gonna go crazy. I'm surprised Virtus.Pro even like signed these guys.
I
with
can't
that
believe
kind of
he talked about the knockup comp. You know what I mean? I finally got to hear the name of it on stream. That's crazy. Anyway, guys, that is it for the time being here for our EU component of the show. Once again, it is Virtus.Pro that have gone all the way and have won themselves $1,000 thanks to our friends over at Intel. When we come back after the break, it will be the NA portion of our show, and there's much to be discussed over there. MTB is here. A team of new and old faces, I think, and of course, Hydra Nation deserve a crack at their throne once more. They'll be going up against, of course, those that dethrone them. It is Melee Creeps. So stay tuned for that one. That's coming at you after the break. We'll see you shortly.